Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the council together for the meeting of May 25th, 2026. It's my pleasure to invite you to rise, if you're able, for our national anthem. Please be seated. The town of Oakville is located on treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and we thank the Mississaugas for being stewards of this traditional territory. By 1820, the Mississaugas began welcoming settlers from all over the British Empire. Soon, Oakville was welcoming Black people fleeing the United States. Our Indigenous, white, and Black residents created a community of harmony that makes us proud. By 1857, Ontario recognized Oakville as a town. At Town Hall, we fly the flag of the Mississaugas with the flags of Oakville, Ontario, and Canada to acknowledge our origins. The vibrant livability that we are creating for all attracts people from across Canada and across the world. We feel sorrow for acts of racism and intolerance suffered across the world, including Canada and here at home. We want our future to be equitable and inclusive for everyone. We believe the path of truth and reconciliation can unite us. Please keep well, stay safe, and let us on council know of any chance to be helpful to you and yours. And please let us know anytime you can help increase Oakville's harmony, prosperity, and livability. Mr. Clerk, I understand we have regrets.
Yeah.
Well, we'll miss him. We hope he's having a good holiday. We can move into the approval of the previous minutes. Can we get a mover and seconder or any corrections? I see Councillor Lischina and Councillor Shia. Thank you. Any objection or corrections? Mr. Clerk, there being none, the minutes are adopted. And now, Council, I have information that the consent items are not consenting, or will not be a smooth and quick consent. So I'm going to move them down in the agenda so that we can address the discussion items for which we have gathered a great number of people, so that they're made to wait as little as possible. And the first item, for whom we have attracted some attendees whose time we care about, is the 2025 audited financial statements and external audit findings report. And the people I'm referring to are Carlos Alvarez and his colleagues, literally our auditors. I'm going to recognize Jonathan Vander Heiden, our Deputy Treasurer and Director of Finance, and Jade Surgeon, our Manager of Accounting, to lead us off. And I'll get Cheryl Ayers, the Commissioner, instead. Very well.
And John, I was going to lead the presentation this evening and introduce the auditors. So I do have a brief presentation to go through about the town's 2025 financial performance before I turn it over to the auditors. So thank you, Mayor Burton, and good evening, members of council. I'm pleased to present the town's 2025 financial results this evening and introduce the auditors from KPMG, who will share their audit findings. As you know, the Municipal Act requires us to prepare financial statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and to appoint an independent auditor. Our audited statements are prepared on a consolidated basis, meaning they include the Oakville Public Library, the 3 BIAs, Oakville Municipal Development Corporation, our ownership in Halton Digital Access Services Corporation, and Oakville Enterprises Corporation. So what do the financial results actually mean for residents of the community? In 2025, we resurfaced and preserved roads, improved traffic management, and expanded and electrified our transit fleet, all priorities from Council's strategic plan. We continued investing in parks, trails, and community facilities, and our community satisfaction survey confirms residents are noticing. And importantly, we delivered all of this while finding savings through efficiencies and continuous improvement as Council directed through the budget process. To put all of this in context, it's worth stepping back and looking at the full picture of how we report on the town's finances throughout the year. Council reviews and approves many financial documents, budgets, quarterly variance reports, capital project updates, investment reports, and reserve activity. The audited financial statements bring all of this information together into one complete, independently verified record of what actually happened during the year. They confirm that Council's decisions and the town's financial activity are accurately reflected. And once the financial statements are complete, we prepare an annual financial information return. This provincial reporting document is prepared in accordance with prescribed policies issued by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. So with that framework in mind, let me walk you through the specific financial results for 2025. While budgets plan for the future, the financial statements look back at what actually happened and measure our actual performance against the plan. On April 27th, Council approved the 2025 financial results and surplus disposition report. The headline number, the town ended the year with an operating surplus of $3.72 million, or 1.3% of the tax levy. It's considered best practice for the annual surplus or deficit to fall within 2% of the budget, and we achieved that for 2025. On the capital side, we had a life-to-date approved budget of $970.3 million, with expenditures of $168.8 million in 2025, bringing cumulative spending on active projects to $491.1 million. Now let me show you where the biggest capital investments were directed. So the chart on this slide shows the capital projects with the highest spending in 2025. These are large-scale investments that are shaping the community from infrastructure to community facilities. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Council received the year-end financial report, which focused on how revenues and expenses compare to budget. This slide shifts the lens to the town's overall financial condition at year-end. At a high level, we have $1.46 billion in financial assets and $828.9 million in liabilities, leaving $629.3 million in net financial assets. These are resources available to fund future services. The accumulated surplus of $3.1 billion represents what the town owns, net of what it owes. But it's important to note that most of this is tied up in roads, buildings, and infrastructure. It's not funds sitting in a bank account. The statements, together with the detailed notes, give Council a complete picture of both annual performance and long-term financial health. Speaking of long-term health, I want to touch on a few key indicators. On investments, we continue to actively manage the investment portfolio with a focus on aligning investments to our liquidity needs. This ensures funds are available when required, while still optimizing returns where possible. In 2025, we achieved an average rate of return of 3.68%, with an average maturity of just under 5 years. Our reserves are in good shape. The majority are above target levels, which strengthens our financial position. And for those that are underfunded, we have plans in place to bring them up to target over time. Looking ahead, our projections show that financing from reserves and reserve funds will be sufficient to support the 10-year capital forecast. This reduces the need for additional external financing and helps maintain stability. And on debt, we remain below council-approved limits, which gives us flexibility if we need it down the road. Now, I know that sometimes people wonder why budget results and the financial statement results can look different. And on the next slide, I'll explain just that. So you recall that I previously mentioned the annual surplus reported in April was $3.72 million. And I also mentioned our accumulated surplus of $3.1 billion. This slide highlights why budget results and financial statement results look different depending on which report you're reading. Municipal budgets are designed for cash-based planning and affordability. They ensure we have the liquidity to deliver council-established levels of service during the year. The financial statements are prepared under public sector accounting standards, and they take a longer-term view of our overall financial position. The biggest difference is how we treat capital assets. In the budget, capital costs are fully expensed in the year the cash is spent. Under PSAS, those assets are recorded at their full cost and are amortized over the useful life of the assets. There are also key differences in how debt and reserves are handled. Debt repayments are a budget expense because they require cash, but they are not an expense under PSAS. They reduce the liability instead. Similarly, transfers to and from reserves are budget tools to manage funding, but they do not impact the annual surplus. The key takeaway is that both reports are accurate. They're just looking through different lenses. The budget asks, can we afford it this year? The financial statements ask, what is our overall financial health? With that distinction in mind, let me explain the different types of surpluses. So one of the questions I get most often from the public is about the accumulated surplus on the financial statements. The word surplus is used in a few different ways, and it can mean different things depending on the context. Because the budget and the financial statements are prepared on different bases, the surplus reported in each document will not and should not be the same. A budget surplus occurs when we spend less or earn more than planned during the year. It's measured on a cash basis. The financial statement surplus looks very different because it includes non-cash items like amortization and donated developer contributions. That's required under accounting standards and gives us a more complete picture of the financial performance for the year. The accumulated surplus is the accumulated total of everything the town owns, like roads, facilities, parks, and our ownership share in other organizations such as OEC, and is net of what is owed over our entire history. Most of it is invested in infrastructure and is not available as cash. Appendix D in the staff report on this evening's agenda provides a step-by-step reconciliation connecting the budget results to the audited figures so you can see exactly how the numbers relate. So let me bring it all together with 3 key takeaways for you. And before I hand things over to the auditors, here are the 3 key messages I'd like you to take away from my presentation. First, the town's finances are stable and sustainable. We're managing within our means, our reserves are healthy, and our debt is within council-approved limits. Second, when you hear the word surplus, it's important to understand that it doesn't mean it's cash sitting in a bank account. Most of it is tied up in assets we own that serve the community every day. And third, the town is well positioned to meet future needs, whether that's growing infrastructure demands, service expectations, or economic pressures ahead. So before I hand things over to the auditors, I want to briefly highlight the role of the external audit. Council appoints external auditors to independently examine our financial statements. Their job is to provide an objective opinion on whether the statements fairly present the town's financial position in accordance with public sector accounting standards. This gives council and the public confidence that the numbers are reliable and that public funds have been properly accounted for. And with that, I'll now turn things over to Carlos and Matt from KPMG to walk through their audit findings. And after that, I'd be happy to take any further questions.
Well, fantastic, and thank you for that lead-in. My name is Carlos Alvarez. I would have presented to you in prior years. Matt Chardelli and I will go through the significant highlights as part of the 2025 fiscal audit. And just to carry forward from the previous speaker, on the previous slide, the word independent showed up a few times on the slide. So maybe to change things up, I would like to confirm with council that we as a firm of CPAs, that independence is important. And I can confirm to you that we remained independent throughout the entire audit process, all the way from the beginning of fieldwork on to today. The audit findings report would have been included in your package before you. And where we would like to begin is on page 89 of the 480-page report. Just to make some overall comments, beginning with the audit highlights. 2 items to note. The way that we performed the audit was essentially consistent with the prior year. There were no significant changes in the underlying auditing standards. And as well, from an accounting standpoint, in terms of how your debits came together from an accounting standpoint, again, there were no significant changes in the underlying accounting standards. So really quiet from a regulatory standpoint. I see we're trying to get the slides on screen. Maybe we can turn to page 89, please, which is a few pages into the report. Page 4, going on memory. Here we go. As well, another item to note is that at the beginning of every audit, we put together an audit plan. And based on how we executed the audit, I can confirm with council that we did not have to pivot. We did not have any difficulties in conducting the audit, and we performed exactly what we set out to do as part of the audit process. What would be an audit without talking about misstatements? Certainly we are engaged to scrub your books and records. I can confirm with all of you that there were no corrected misstatements, nor were there any uncorrected misstatements. So effectively a clean sheet from a bill of health perspective in terms of adjustments. Moving forward in the report, one more page, please. With it being May the 25th, we are at a point where all of these items are customary to where we are at this point in the audit process. Certainly entertaining any of the questions from council is an important part of the process. Ultimately, we will ask for evidence that these are approved by council so that we can then proceed to issue the financial statements in final with our auditor's report. We will update our subsequent events review and other procedures with management, but we expect all of those items to be wrapped up within a day or so. We will ask your management team to sign what I would call a very important letter. These financial statements are your financial statements. This management representation letter that I'm referring to is a document in which your management team signs off on what are management's responsibilities as it pertains to the audit, as opposed to the responsibilities of us as auditors. And we will do a trade between the signed audit report and that signed management representation letter. Moving forward in the report, please. In a nutshell, it was a no surprises audit. Nothing to report on any of the significant matters. There were no significant deficiencies in internal control. There were no other observations that we encountered as part of our audit process. We didn't have to change our materiality. And if there's one number to remember in our presentation, it is $800,000. $800,000 is our tolerance for audit differences. So had we detected any errors that exceeded $800,000, we would be mandated to include that in the report before you. Moving forward in the report, please. As a reminder to previous years, there are always two risks that we're required to respond to on every audit in Canada. This is not unique to a municipality. This is for all organizations. The one is the risk of management override of controls. As auditors, we are required to respond to this risk, and this includes elements such as reviewing all of the estimates that are contained within the financial statements and assessing whether or not they are overly aggressive, overly conservative, or neutral. And I can confirm with all of you that all of the estimates were deemed to be neutral. As well, based on all of the source documentation, our testing of journal entries, all of the transactions were above board. We did not detect anything that would be considered fraudulent, suspected, or otherwise. So again, a clean bill of health. Moving further back in the report, again, in terms of revenue recognition, you have various revenue streams that form part of the revenue that you record on an annual basis. Again, based on all of the procedures that we performed, there were no findings to report on the revenues recorded, either the nature of the revenues or the accounting period that they were recorded. So again, no differences to bring forward to your attention. Moving further in the report, I'll let Matt Chardelli from my KPMG team speak to the next few slides.
Thank you, Carlos. The next few slides will just detail some other areas of audit focus. Certainly tangible capital assets is table stakes for any municipal audit based on quantum. As mentioned earlier, a lot of the town's legacy assets do remain on the balance sheet and are depreciated over time. So they will be an area of audit focus each and every year. Our procedures here include rolling forward a schedule, a continuity schedule, if you will, of capital assets, ensuring everything from the past is brought forward into the current period's financials appropriately. And then we do work on a sample basis to test any additions, not only additions by way of purchase, but also by way of construction and work in progress, making sure that all of the costs are recorded accurately and meet the criteria in the Public Sector Accounting Standards Handbook for capitalization. We go to third-party supporting evidence in order to vouch this, and we can confirm that there were no issues to bring to your attention in this area. We also supplement that with procedures over operating expenses, which may be capital in nature, things like repairs and maintenance, to ensure that anything that may meet the criteria for capitalization does get there, even if it initially is booked as an expense. Also, the last bullet on the page here, you'll see the term asset retirement obligation estimate. That is a significant estimate that some may remember became a mandatory part of the accounting standards a couple of years ago. So certainly a large lift in that initial year. And every year since its implementation, we work with management to ensure it is being appropriately updated on an annual basis for any changes in estimate and to account for any retirement obligations physically incurred in the year, which would bring down the future liability. Now, we don't have slides for everything, but I'll highlight there are many other areas of audit focus. Obviously, it's a large audit, so we touch every area of the financial statements. So other significant areas of work include over developer charges, over your reserves, and over your payroll expenses, amongst other areas. So just because they're not profiled here does not mean that we don't look at them. And I'll leave the meat and potatoes slides at that. Moving on to the next page, please. Similar to Carlos's comments earlier, no surprises or curveballs this year with respect to new accounting standards, policies, or practices. There were no significant changes which were required to be implemented in the current period. So the town's accounting policies do remain in line with expectation across the sector and the relevant accounting standards. Moving on one more page. Similar comment here. Each year we do look at the form and arrangement of the financial statements to ensure that all of the required disclosures for the public sector standards are included and presented appropriately. And because there were no significant changes which required those disclosures or notes to the statements to change, you'll find if you flip your financial statements page by page in parallel to the prior year, they will look very familiar. One more page, please. So here we have a variety of specific topics that we're required to comment on. You can see here that we had no disagreements or significant difficulties during the audit. And I'll also take this time to highlight that the package we were provided by the management team was prompt and in good shape. We did not have a lot of back and forth. And generally, when we request something for the audit, we get what we need on the first try. So it was quite efficient from an exchange of information point of view, and just want to highlight that we had the full cooperation of management throughout the audit. Now, we do have one bullet at the bottom of the page here, just to note that the town's interest in Oakville Enterprises Corporation has been accounted for to reflect a transaction made by the OEC, which introduced a non-controlling interest. And really what that means is management just had to take a look at their annual equity interest pickup for accounting in its interest in OEC. There are rules in the public sector standards that require that interest to be accounted for in a specific way. So with that change at the OEC level, management did what they were required to do in order to pick up the interest in the new setting. The next few slides, I think we can drive past, and I'll go to slide 17 and hand back to Carlos, just skipping past these as we've already noted, no misstatements or control deficiencies to bring to your attention.
So certainly from an audit quality perspective, we are comfortable to where we are in the audit process. Again, we have those customary loose ends to follow up on shortly after this meeting, but effectively we are substantially complete and ready to proceed as it pertains to the audit. So that would cover what I would consider to be the formal topics as part of the audit process. So with that, I'll pause and back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alvarez. Council, are there any questions before we look for a motion? Very well. Councilor Lischina.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can't see you on the public can't see you, but we can hear you.
Oh, Somehow I disappeared.
There you are.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Thank you very much for the presentation. A couple of questions. So Oakville continues to undertake major capital investments and growth-related infrastructure spending. Did KPMG identify any concerns regarding sustainability of reserve funding, development charge assumptions, or long-term asset replacement obligations?
Through you, Your Worship, our financial statement audit encompasses the transactions that have happened. What we don't look at is we don't predict into the future whether or not you have, sufficient sources of liquidity or you're on the appropriate trajectory to meet, expected growth, whether it be population, demand for facilities, or other things like that. So I would say that looking forward in terms of whether or not, it's sustainable or you have sufficient investment in capital assets would be outside of the scope of a financial statement audit. We're more on auditing historical transactions that have occurred during the year.
So I guess
The only caveat that I would add would be if there was any concerns on a municipality's ability to continue as a going concern in the foreseeable future, and that is defined as 1 year from today, then certainly we would be bringing that forward. Otherwise, we wouldn't report anything beyond that.
Okay, so I guess my next question was going to be, did you observe any emerging risks? So whether economic, regulatory, cybersecurity, so you're not looking at any risks either for the next 3 to 5 years, for example, seeing based on what you saw in 2025?
For you, Your Worship, that would be correct. I can report to Council that just on the topic of cybersecurity, we are not aware of any matters through the course of our audit process to bring forward to your attention based on that topic, as well as any other topics that we would feel necessary to bring forward to your attention.
Thank you, Councillor. Well, I'll just try one question. Mr. Alvarez, are there any internal control improvements that you would recommend to us for the future?
To you, Your Worship, based on what we've looked at for fiscal 2025, there was certainly nothing significant to bring forward, and as well as other observations, it was really clean as a whistle. We do document all of your processes on your major streams of transactions, and again, there were no performance improvement observations to bring forward as part of the audit.
Thank you very much. I confess that's a bit of my stock question for auditors. Council, is there a mover and seconder among us for the receipt and the approval? Councillor Knoll and Councillor Giddings, thank you. Any objection? There being none, Mr. Clerk, that's carried. And that brings us to 11.2 and 12.2, which are the matters concerning Oakville Enterprises Corporation's annual general meeting with us, the shareholder, and their update. I'd like to call on David Brennan, Rob Lister, and Laura Wilson from OEC to provide their presentations, and then we'll take questions. Mr. Brennan?
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. In addition to CEO Rob Lister and his team, we have a number of directors with us tonight. I'd just like to point them out. If you could just raise your hands. We have Janet Wilkinson, Patrick Crowley, Jane Allen, and then Uma Animale. I don't see anyone else. There's two. Oh, Ian Cockwell over in the corner. And then there's two others that you may be familiar with. They probably don't need to raise their hands. Mayor Burton and Jane Clowissy. So that's everyone that's here tonight. And for those who don't know me, I'm Dave Brennan, the board chair. So while our board and you as councillors have many things in common, I believe one of the most important is about making a difference in our roles as directors and as councillors. Tonight, I want to speak about how we as directors are making a difference. Next slide, please. These 4 points summarize what we're going to talk about tonight, finishing with any questions you might have. Next slide, please. As this slide suggests, simply put, our approach has 3 basic elements to it. We're focused on creating and growing OEC's long-term value. We provide oversight of the business strategy and affairs of OEC, and we're always driving for significant and growing shareholder dividend potential, driving more income. Next slide, please. It's very important to note that in our board's focus has had to change with each phase and stage of OEC's development. Next slide, please. In 2008, when the board was reconstituted, Oakville Hydro was a small, very successful utility, reliably providing electricity, and it was a local utility focused with a local utility leadership team and a local utility strategy. Our new board came in 2008, challenged by Mayor Burton's nascent EBCOR vision. We realized significant changes were necessary. And while we had a clear direction, as the old saying goes, we needed to learn to walk before we could run. So by 2010, we had hired a new high potential CEO. I give you Rob Lister back here, who's still with us and still showing great potential. We also sourced $40 million of seed capital, a portion of the sale of Blink Communications, Oakville Hydro Company. Another portion of that, about $90 million, for those who may or may not recall, helped with the purchase or building of a new hospital. And finally, we had back then a revised strategic plan development process underway. We didn't have the plan yet, but we had a process underway. Then from the period of 2010 to 2016, that was the time, to use my analogy, we relearned how to walk. It was the growth of the CEO and his senior leadership team and the business expansion in both consumer and commercial customer sectors. Sandpiper Home Comfort offered HVAC and hot water heater rentals directly to consumers. And our commercial and energy engineering and locate services were growing organically and through acquisitions. And then by 2017, to carry on my analogy, we started to learn how to run and in what strategic direction. We had concluded by 2016 that the consumer businesses, Sandpiper in particular, did not provide the growth potential that we needed and wanted and expected. We sold Sandpiper and took those sale proceeds and redirected them towards, at that time, OEC's revised long-term energy and infrastructure strategic plan, which was focused on and continues to be focused on business customers. Next slide, please. The composition of OEC board has been guided since 2008 by a director's skills matrix, developed and refined by OEC's nominating committee. This is the committee that actually provides a recommended slate of directors to you, the councilors, each year. Today's slate of directors, which will be on the next slide, reflects the skills, experience, and tenure we believe is necessary to provide the required oversight for OEC's continued strategic growth and development. Next slide, please. And I just realized I forgot another important director. Rob, can you raise your hand? Thank you. Thank you. I could spend a lot of time talking about the directors, but I just want to highlight the 4 new directors. The 4 of them you'll see circled in yellow. The first of these is Bipasha Chu, which is top right. Bipasha is a mathematics and computer science grad that brings 30 years of digital technology and cyber security experience to our board. She has held executive technology roles at Canadian Tire, Apotex, and the LCBO. Uma Animalai, who's at the back here, Uma is a lawyer and an MBA who recently retired from 22 years at GE. The last 14 as an executive at GE Verona, a $35 billion global energy company. Now, Manik Buckberger, who is on the far left, Manik is a civil professional engineer with 29 years of construction operations experience at PCL. Currently, Manik is PCL's executive responsible for the GTA and Southwestern Ontario areas. And finally, we have Charles Kaza on the far right. He's a civil engineer and a corporate lawyer, certified as a specialist in construction law. For the last 26 years, Charles has been an executive and general counsel, 9 years at Amec Inc., and the last 17 at Bird Construction. Now, it's worth noting, with the addition of Manik and Charles to our board, we now have executive experience and insights to be gleaned from Ellis Dawn, PCL, Bird Construction, and Amec, as it then was, 4 of Canada's leading construction companies. Next slide, please. So, like council, the detailed work gets done in the committees. So I will ask each of our chairs to speak to what each of the committees does. Patrick from the FAC.
Good evening. As chair of the Finance and Audit Committee, I'm very pleased to be with you. You'll notice, first slide, please. You'll notice on this slide there are 7 members in this committee, all of whom are highly qualified and provide an enormous amount of benefit to the discussions that the Finance and Audit Committee has. You've had the opportunity to hear from KPMG. What you heard from KPMG for the town is kind of similar to what we do as well, but slightly different. So if you look at our primary role, number 1, is to review the finance strategic plan. So as every company and even the town has a strategic plan, there is normally a finance strategic plan as an integral part of that plan. And we review the plan in detail, looking at organic growth, what kind of growth is built in for acquisitions. We also step back and look at those growth projections and say, are they reasonable? Are they achievable? Do we need to borrow money in order to make them supplement the affordability for the plan? And so all of these items are challenged, and we'll talk about some more detail on that when we talk about some of the risks. The second part of the objectives that we have is financial reporting, and again, KPMG went through that in some detail, but we are involved in reviewing the annual operating plan, which takes place normally in the September through November period and is approved in December for the following year. And then every quarter, we review the performance on a quarterly basis against that annual plan, and also compare it to the previous year to track performance, see how we're doing. Do we need to change direction at any one point in time as a result of what's coming forward in the environment, some of the things, Councillor, that you raised earlier. The third item is internal financial controls, and the mayor raised that question for council with KPMG. But we monitor financial controls where we want to make sure we're in compliance with regulations, but financial controls are important to have segregation of duties, and I'll give you a hypothetical example. We never have the same person who is receiving funds and depositing in the bank. Those are always 2 separate individuals doing that, check and balance in the system. The same is true if somebody is processing payments and writing checks, always 2 different people. And that helps to not only prevent fraud, but it also helps to ensure that there are no errors or omissions. Next slide, please. The next item is on financial risk management, and I mentioned we review a lot of the projections that management develops as part of their strategic plan. We look at assumptions, whether they're kind of organic growth, the kind of risks around acquisitions and divestitures. We look at economics, both micro and macroeconomics, to assess whether these the risks to the plan can be mitigated, and that the plan is substantially valid on a go-forward basis based on everything we know today and our projections into the future. And the audit function, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because you just heard from KPMG, and I'll just say ditto. So thank you for your time, and I'll now ask Jane.
Thanks very much. I chair the Governance and Risk Committee. So the purpose of that committee is to help make sure OEC grows responsibly and that it makes sound decisions and that it stays resilient as this world continues to change around us. Yes? Yes, that's not my slide. Can someone change the slide? There we are. And I have one slide, so this should be easy. So at the heart of our work is the belief that good governance and thoughtful risk oversight are essential to OEC's long-term success. And it's not just about compliance, it's about strengthening accountability and helping make sure that OEC continues to deliver value to our community. A key part of the committee's mandate is supporting sound governance practices, and that means making sure that the roles of the board, management, and shareholders are clear, and that the board is operating within our legal framework and to a high ethical standard. And having clear governance practices builds confidence within OEC and with our shareholders and helps keep decisions aligned with our strategic priorities. Good governance also depends on an effective and knowledgeable board, and the committee supports that by providing board orientation, ongoing education, and regular evaluations of the board and its committees. How are we doing? We also make a point of bringing in speakers on various topics like AI, Indigenous partnerships, electricity markets, and recently we visited the IESO Control Center out at Lakeshore and Winston Churchill to get a better understanding of how they manage the grid that feeds our distribution system. And all of this gives directors the knowledge and the perspective they need to provide strong strategic oversight, especially as our operating environment continues to become more and more complex. And it also supports continuous improvement on how the board works together and governs effectively. Beyond governance, the committee also oversees enterprise-wide risk. Infrastructure companies like ours are operating in a very fast-changing environment. New technology, cybersecurity threats, the energy transition, and broader economic conditions are all things that we're facing. So we work closely with management to provide structured oversight of the risks. For example, we regularly review OEC's top risks and how they're being addressed. And the goal is to protect our people, our assets, our operations, and the company's long-term strength. So the work of the committee is not about avoiding risk altogether. That's impossible. It's about managing risk in a way that supports growth and allows opportunities to be pursued thoughtfully, responsibly, and within OEC's risk tolerance. We also review our strategy regularly to identify emerging risks that may require us to adapt or to pivot. And as the company continues to evolve and pursue new opportunities, this kind of oversight becomes even more important. The committee's there to support sustainable growth, sound decision-making, and long-term resilience. And I'd like to acknowledge the contribution of the committee members that are listed on the slide, and together we bring a broad range of expertise across the power and infrastructure sector, including construction, law, technology, and talent management, among others. Thank you.
Next slide, please. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you today about the HRC and the work that we're doing to support OEC. You'll see there that we have a smaller committee, but we cover a lot of ground. We are experts in human resources, we're expert in human resource trends, and we're familiar with what's happening in Oakville, Ontario, and across Canada. And I'll also mention that we do work closely with Rob and Mary Caputi and the other executives. So we're providing oversight and foresight, but we also work closely together. So I'm going to talk about the 5 key areas where HRC supports OEC's success. The first thing is health and safety, and I know some people always put health and safety first because it looks good, but we really do mean it. So health and safety is pivotal to everything that we do. Our Staying Alive program, I would think, is world-class, best class. We report on it at every board meeting. We also have a comprehensive program that talks about not just health, but also wellness. And we talk about what happens at work, but also what happens at home. And we also have, we don't just talk about it, we have metrics, we have KPIs, we track our performance, we have leading indicators, lagging indicators, and then we tie it to compensation. So in terms of HR strategy, HR is embedded in the business, and we know if HR wasn't part of the business, we wouldn't be able to succeed. We need to make sure that we have the right people in the right places at the right time. So when we talk about the growth of OEC and what the trajectory that we've had over the last few years, we need the right people to do due diligence. So when we're looking at an acquisition, we do that research up front. We need to make sure that we have employees that can deal with the integration, and then employees that can support the operation once it's transitioned into the OEC umbrella. I guess another thing that we talk about is we have a performance pathway where we say that leaders create culture, and then culture creates behavior, and behavior leads to results. And we see that every day in every one of our businesses. Next slide, please. So in terms of employee engagement and culture, it's important that we attract the right employees, but once we've attracted those employees, we have to make sure that we retain those employees and that they're motivated to succeed. We have values of lead, innovate, and commit to excellence that are part of our business every day. So that's what employees see when they first join OEC, and then that's continued throughout their employment history with us. We monitor our success, we monitor trends, and we do employee surveys, but not just surveys. We monitor our turnover, retention, and we also keep an eye on just what employees are talking about in the workplace and what supervisors are hearing in the workplace as well. Jane talked about risk, and succession planning is a way that we mitigate risk. So we make sure on an annual basis that we talk about succession. So we talk about CEO succession on a temporary basis. We talk about CEO succession from a permanent basis. We make sure that we have key executives identified, and those executives have individual development plans and coaches, and that they're continuing to develop and giving opportunities to try out different parts of the business. And you'll probably be familiar with some of the people that presented here to you. And then the last key area I'll talk about is compensation and benefits. So we want to make sure that our compensation and benefits are fair to employees, but also fair to the company, and balance all of those needs. We don't make decisions just off the top of our heads. We have consultants that help us. We have independent survey results to help us, and we make sure that all of our decision making is based on facts and data. So maybe just in summary, I'd just like to say that we really do take a disciplined and focused approach in everything that we do, and that I'm proud of what we've accomplished, and I'm proud of how we support OEC. And over to you, Rob.
Next slide, please. To use another old saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. You see here, if you look down on the bottom, you'll see 2010, 2025. This shows the progression in growth of the businesses of OEC going for the 15 years. Quite the growth. Next slide, please. Now to use a few words, translate those into a few words. A couple of examples here. From 2011 to 2025, the adjusted EBITDA, or basically earnings, have grown 5 times, 500%, from 20 million to almost 100 million. Income, taxable, our income itself has actually grown 6-fold. And the dividends have quadrupled, and they're still growing. To use a few more words just to summarize the last 18 years, the OEC board has successfully overseen Rob Lister and his team develop, refine, and execute a corporate strategy that has transformed a very successful small local utility into a very successful, nationally recognized energy and infrastructure business. And to conclude, like you and your work as councillors, we are very confident we are making a difference. Thank you. Now, questions now or questions at the end?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I think Council would like to hear the rest of the presentation.
Okay. Rob?
Welcome, Mr. President and CEO.
Thank you, Mayor Burton. Good evening, Council. Great to be here again. Let's wait for presentation to show up. There we go. Yes, well, this presentation augments our annual general meeting for 2025. With me this evening are my colleagues from OEC, including Mary Caputi, Andrew Elnazir, Sean McCoggan, Jeff Mocha, Laura Wilson, Scott Moody, Bethany St. Pierre, and Susan Hillier. On this slide, I'm highlighting the three main facets of OEC, providing energy and infrastructure services across Canada and into the United States, owning and operating renewable assets, and distributing electricity throughout the town of Oakville. This photo is one of our employees conducting a depth of cover service on Line 9 gas infrastructure between Sarnia and Montreal. I'm going to speak to OEC's exciting growth that Mr. Brennan referred to and share some of the key highlights from 2025. Also touch on Oakville Hydro's continued excellent system reliability performance and our current power capacity in Oakville, in the town. Then I'll turn it over to Laura Wilson, OEC's Chief Financial and Technology Officer, to conclude our presentation with some financial highlights from 2025. So looking at over the past year, here's a few key indicators highlighting the strength and the scale of our organization. OEC achieved $100 million in year-over-year enterprise value growth, reflecting strong execution across the business. The enterprise has grown to more than 3,000 employees, supporting work across Canada and in several U.S. markets. We now operate from 38 yards and offices, giving us both national reach and local community presence. And through more than 20 services, we provide support for infrastructure across electricity, natural gas, telecommunications, and asset management. Now, as you have seen this slide in previous presentations, every time we just grow the color a little bit more, this map highlights the breadth of OEC's operations. Across Canada, we maintain strong and well-established presence, supporting projects in communities coast to coast. You also see select areas in the United States marked on the map, which we are delivering work and expanding into targeted markets. Our growth has been measured and deliberate, focusing on opportunities where we can generate the most value. As a refresher, OEC continues to grow its renewable energy portfolio across Canada. We continue to invest in 3 renewable solutions. In solar, we have the Sunny Shores Solar Farm in Picton, Ontario, that's pictured on the left. The East Strathmore Solar Farm in Alberta that we recently purchased, as well as several rooftop installations on town facilities in the town of Oakville. We also own and operate 3 run-of-the-river hydroelectric generating stations, one on Manitoulin Island and at Rideau Vale Falls, which is in the middle there. And then we have 2 on the Trout River, which is near North Bay. And we're supporting the growth of sustainable, zero-emission heating and cooling with 9 geoexchange systems in Ontario currently in operation and 1 in development. On the right, you can see the geoexchange drilling at the Gemini condominium development at Spears and Kerr. This building is now well under construction and they have reached their 10th floor height. OEC had 2 significant acquisitions in 2025, supporting our long-term growth. We acquired a majority ownership position in primary engineering and construction out of Calgary. This business provides engineering services across Western Canada and into the United States, and construction services in Alberta. Secondly, OEC acquired the East Strathmore Solar Farm in Alberta. This acquisition extends our renewable energy portfolio into Western Canada. Now, getting over to Oakville Hydro, here's some information. Currently, Oakville Hydro is the 10th largest LDC in Ontario out of 57 LDCs. 30 years ago, there were 300 municipal electric utilities in Ontario. Our customer base is approaching 80,000. We currently have 239 connected distributed energy resources, representing almost 10 megawatts of generation connected across the town. These DERs are mostly solar installations on rooftops. At our last presentation at Council, there were some questions about the electricity growth rate and Oakville Hydro's ability to meet the anticipated growth demand. The customer count growth rate has averaged between 1.5% and 2% per year. The peak demand growth rate has been around 1% per year. With the current peak load at 436 megawatts, we have over 100 megawatts of installed available capacity on the system. This capacity measure is based on station capacity limits from Hydro One stations and Oakville Hydro's Glenorchy station. This slide illustrates the 6 options for creating more electricity capacity in Oakville Hydro, in the Oakville Hydro system across several stations. It's based on several upgrades ranging from station, breaker, and feeder expansions, station upgrades, and eventually a new transformer station. These potential capacity options total 400 megawatts, almost equal to the current system's peak demand. We're able to incrementally increase the capacity in Oakville and up to about the early to mid 2030s before we'll have to construct a new transformer station. We're in good shape to meet the growing electricity demand in Oakville, and we can do that through incremental capacity investments. Each year, I'd like to show Council Oakville Hydro's system reliability performance. This graph illustrates the system reliability and how we perform relative to other utilities. The length of time our customers are without power and the duration of outages in 2025 were industry leading. We avoided approximately 364,000 outage minutes through automation. That's equal to 250 customer days. With the average outage times about 20 minutes and the average frequency of outages less than once per year. My message is that Oakville Hydro has a very reliable electricity system through people, processes, technology, and installed infrastructure. Here are a few highlights on Oakville Hydro's performance excellence. Not shown on the slide is our continued leading safety performance, culture, and our Staying Alive safety program. We received the Ontario Energy Association's Customer Service Award for Excellence and Innovation in 2025. We provide control room services to Halton Hills, Milton, and Niagara-on-the-Lake. As I previously indicated, Oakville Hydro's system reliability is industry leading. Overall, this reflects a continued focus on reliability, innovation, and strong customer outcomes. At the last update, there were some discussions on data centers in Oakville, so I have some additional information this evening. Since November 2024, Oakville Hydro has received 8 data center connection inquiries for sites across Oakville. These projects are various stages of development, from early inquiries, customer consultation, through to one project that has advanced into a technical assessment. The electricity demand for these proposed data centers ranges from 15 to 60 megawatts per location. We would typically receive these inquiries before the town would be approached, as the developers are doing just some preliminary reviews of the site availability, capacity availability, and that was it. So this time, I'm going to ask Laura to come up and present on some of the 2025 financial highlights. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob. Good evening, Mayor Burton and members of council. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening, and I'm pleased to present OEC's 2025 financial highlights. As Rob highlighted earlier, OEC continued to grow in 2025, both organically and through acquisitions, bringing total enterprise value to approximately $980 million, an increase of more than $100 million over the prior year. OEC's diversified portfolio continues to be a significant competitive advantage for the organization, providing greater financial stability and reducing overall business risk. The results shown on this slide include the 2025 investments in primary engineering and construction and the East Strathmore Solar Project, both located in Western Canada. OEC delivered strong financial performance in 2025 with revenues of $813 million. Earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization were $98.9 million in 2025 compared to $87.3 million in 2024, and total assets increased to just over $1 billion. Shareholders' equity as at December 31st, 2025 was $235 million. Cash at the end of the year was $45 million, lower than the prior year, reflecting the cash used for the acquisitions highlighted earlier. Turning to this next slide, OEC continues to build on its strong track record and growth culture and a clear focus on increasing enterprise value and delivering returns for its shareholders. In this context, the dividend in 2026 will be $12.2 million to the town of Oakville, paid in June of this year. This concludes OEC's update. In closing, 2025 has been a year of strong performance, continued growth, and investment. We've demonstrated the strength of our operations, maintained a highly reliable electricity system, and continue to position Oakville Hydro to support future demand and electrification. We're also investing thoughtfully in our infrastructure capabilities and our renewable energy portfolios to ensure that we are well prepared for what's ahead. We remain committed to delivering reliable service, supporting our community, and creating long-term value for the town of Oakville. Thank you for your time this evening, and with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for your presentation, your information, and above all, your performance and, the dividend. Council, do you have questions? All right, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Council, could I get a mover and seconder for the, to receive and approve the report in 11.2 and to agree to the confidential recommendation in 12.2? Councillor Chisholm and Councillor Haslett-Deal, thank you. Any objection? There being none, Mr. Clerk, that is adopted. And now, thanks to moving things around, I need a second just to move some papers around. All right, we are moving on to Bronte now, and we're going to talk about the Bronte Waterfront Strategy final report. We have delegations, and I wonder, Council, I think we should hear the delegations first. Very well. Mr. Clerk, would you call the delegations?
Kylie Wilson.
Ms. Wilson, welcome. Council looks forward to your information, and the table and the microphone are all adjustable if you need it. You can pull it down and...
Thank you. Actually, I'm going to be delegating tonight instead of Kylie Wilson. Good evening, Mayor Burton and members of council. My name is Cheryl Etherington. I am the chair of the Bronte BIA Board of Directors. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening regarding the Bronte Waterfront Strategy. I want to begin by acknowledging the significant work, consultation, and engagement that has gone into this process. The Bronte BIA appreciates the town's efforts to create a long-term vision that recognizes the waterfront as both one of Oakville's most valued public spaces and one of its most important economic, and tourism assets. We are strongly supportive of the direction of the strategy. It establishes a long-term guiding framework for the waterfront rather than final approval of individual projects, with future initiatives continuing to return to Council for review, consultation, budgeting, and approval. This approach provides clarity and long-term confidence for our residents, businesses, investors, and future councils alike. Equally important will be disciplined implementation and thoughtful phasing to ensure investments reinforce one another over time. A central focus of the strategy, and one we strongly support, is strengthening the connection between the waterfront and Bronte Village. For years, our businesses have emphasized the importance of Bronte functioning as one integrated destination, where visitors move naturally between the harbor, marina, parks, shops, events, and the main street. The proposed Inner Harbor Promenade is a key piece of that vision, helping unify these spaces into a connected, walkable waterfront district. The strategy further supports this through improved pedestrian movement, wayfinding, placemaking, and year-round activation. We are especially encouraged by the opportunity to preserve and re-image the Metro Marine Building as a vibrant public-facing heritage asset that can support culture, community activity, tourism, and waterfront animation for years to come. The focus on creating a true four-season waterfront experience is particularly important. For local businesses, the difference between seasonal and year-round activity is the difference between vulnerability and long-term sustainability. Features such as a skating loop, enhanced promenades, improved public spaces, flexible gathering areas, and waterfront programming can help extend activity beyond the summer months while supporting more stable local economy. We've already seen the impact thoughtful public realm investment can have in Bronte through the boardwalk, improvements, enhanced lighting, revitalization of Bronte Beach, and the introduction of our Market Square. This strategy builds on that momentum while addressing untapped potential within the Inner Harbor and waterfront corridor. In total, 17 businesses and community stakeholders submitted letters in support of this strategy, reflecting strong and broad-based support across Bronte's business community. As Doug Greco, longtime Bronte business owner and president of Catch Hospitality shared, I've been in Bronte for over 60 years and I've watched a lot of plans come and go. This one feels different, and I think the timing and the community appetite are both right. We're also encouraged by the perspective of our tourism partner, Visit Oakville, which described this strategy as a once-in-a-generation opportunity to strengthen tourism while supporting year-round economic growth. Building on that sentiment, we also want to emphasize that the Bronte BIA is supportive of thoughtful, managed activations, pop-ups, temporary vendors as tools for waterfront animation and economic development. Our Bronte Farmers Market is a strong example. It brings in more than 1,000 visitors on market Sundays, and 74% of them visit other local businesses. In addition, the market has acted as a business incubator, with 2 vendors going on to open permanent businesses in Bronte. That demonstrates an important point. Activation does not compete with establishing businesses. It helps create future investment in the community. At the same time, balance will be essential. As visitation grows, Bronte's heritage, boating culture, community feel, and waterfront character must continue to be protected. Traffic, parking, congestion, and accessibility will require careful attention through future implementation. As the local business owner shared, tourism heritage, community, and economic growth are not in conflict. They reinforce each other when the plan is thoughtful. That captures exactly what this strategy has the potential to achieve. Bronte already has the harbor, natural beauty, independent business, and community spirit people are looking for. This strategy is about better connecting those strengths into a complete and exceptional waterfront experience, not by changing what Bronte is, but by fully realizing what we can become. We realize that this is a pivotal moment for our community, and the Bronte BIA is proud to support the vision that you brought tonight. Thank you for your time. I would be pleased to answer any questions.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Etherington. Councillor McNeice?
Thank you, through your worship. And just a technical question for you, Mayor. Will we get the presentation?
It would be the next thing we do.
Next thing we do?
Yeah.
Okay, because maybe the other delegations would be in context after the presentation.
I suppose what I asked council before we called the delegations was if you wanted to hear the delegations first, which is, I'm your servant in this matter.
I think maybe the presentation first, but I do have some comments just for Ms. Etherington, if that's okay. Thank you for your presentation. That it certainly echoes many things I've been hearing in the community. The seasonality of our community is a challenge. I mean, it'd be good if we had the exact number, but it feels like it goes up tenfold in the summer versus having to maintain, the steady trickle of small business throughout the off season. I don't think we know the exact number, but the feeling is incredibly busier in the summer, hard to get through the off season. Is that accurate?
I think the weather has a lot to do with that too, but if there was more of attraction, more of a draw to the area, such as the skating rink, something that draws people, it would be much better for the businesses. There would be that drawing card to bring people in.
Yeah, and I think that was always, the skating loop you mentioned was always the intention in the outer harbor.
It's from the Butterfly Park days.
Which is, yeah, I mean, decades old, and I think it was always envisioned there. And you mentioned sort of doing this business loop of, the waterfront is obviously a magnet, but how do we draw people up to Lakeshore, get them to spend a bit more time? We've got Market Square, and that sort of works when it's activated, but
yeah, exactly.
More destinations along the main street would help. And then also you mentioned the pop-ups, and you put it in the context of the market. So the businesses you've spoken to, they don't see that as competition. They see that as complementary. Is that what you're saying?
They see that as complementary. Actually, Farm Boy, which is closest, their business actually increases when the Market Square is running.
Okay. And as far as, we've had some letters from some of the local businesses, and you've mentioned some that you've surveyed and talked to. Has anyone been against this plan moving forward that you know of?
Nobody that we know of is against it, has brought up any concerns about it.
Thanks for that clarity.
Okay.
All right, next is Councillor Chisholm has a question for you, Ms. Etherington. Cheryl, you're not done.
Thank you.
Councillor Chisholm has a question for you.
Thank you. So based on the strategy, I'm over here.
Sorry.
It's okay. The strategy, I'm all for it. It's well planned and so forth. But the biggest concern, I'm just asking you, because the challenge we've had with parking in Bronte, with all this development in the future coming, how do we accommodate the parking if we're going to get people in there for the all season? How are we going to deal with that? Do you have any ideas?
Well, I know that we're doing paid parking now in Bronte, so that we can delve into the parking fund, whether it's building more parking or just taking advantage of what's there. There's a lot of parking in the inner harbor that isn't fully used, just directing people to where it is. I think people are so used to just wanting to get out of their car and be where they are instead of knowing that they're going to have to walk, the same as in Toronto and the same as in other places. We're not the only place that has experienced this problem. I know I've been in Burlington, have to park way down to where I want to go. So we're not the only ones. I don't know what the answer is. More public transit, shuttles.
Suggestion, in Toronto, I've visited many times the beaches. You might want to talk to the BIA down there with respect to how the challenges they have with the parking, what they do to mitigate that. So I think we're in the right track, but that's going to be a challenge throughout all the development. Now, don't shoot me, Bronte people. I saw on one of the slides the town of Bronte. I think we need to clarify it's not a town. It's the town of Oakville, and the community of Bronte. So just if you could, or village, yes, the village.
Village of Bronte.
Bronte. So can we clarify that slide just to make sure we don't have any issues with that? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Let's hear it for local pride. Thank you, Ms. Etherington.
Are there any more questions?
I think we've run out of questions now.
Okay.
Thank you very much. All right. Council, I was going to call all the delegations, but if we'd rather stop and have the presentation. My instinct was that everybody had come having read the study itself, and as you know, the presentation is just a summary. Mr. Mark, would you like to tee up your presentation?
Good evening, Mayor Burton and members of council. I had a very good summary to present to you, but Board Chair Etherington did a spectacular job of providing my introduction to you, so I will not try and do what she did, which was spectacular. All I would say and add to it is the Bronte Waterfront Strategy builds on the investment council has already made in Bronte and takes that further. So with those very brief opening remarks, I'd like to introduce Donna Hind. Donna is with the Planning Partnership, who is our consultant for this study.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to make a very brief presentation. I'm joined tonight with my colleague, Mike Hudson, also from the Planning Partnership. We're going to walk you through the highlights of the master plan. So we can go to the...
Can we have the presentation rather than the report?
Oh, right. We're looking at the report. Where does that magic happen from?
Mr. Clerk, do you know what's going on? This looks like good news.
Okay, let me replay that. Thank you very much for the opportunity to make a very brief presentation on the waterfront strategy. Joined by my colleague Mike Hudson, also from the Planning Partnership. So let's go to the, okay. We're starting with the overall concept plan you see on this screen. This plan developed working in partnership with our town staff team over the last several months. It was very much a partnership. We worked hand in glove through every phase of the exercise. You're looking at a phenomenal waterfront that's about 24 hectares in size. It's got about 4,200 meters of water's edge. Mike is going to walk through the various areas on the waterfront, but you're looking at a, am I not talking in? It's not working.
It's working, but you
Okay.
need to be a little closer or else more forceful.
Okay. So what you're looking at are two primary hubs of activity. Mike's going to walk you through that. A necklace of nodes of activity from west to east. Continuous pedestrian access, some opportunities for making some improvements. Continuing to accommodate boating, a place for events. And by our count, there's about 450 parking spaces in our study area. Go to the, if I can have the next slide up. A quick overview of what we did with engagement. You asked us to make sure that everything we did was framed around engagement. So we started back in August with one-on-one conversations with many members of council, senior staff, and we did an open call in the community for anybody to have a conversation with me. We had pop-up engagement last summer. We had conversation with various interest holders, and many of them we talked to a few times, including the Yacht Club. We had 3 public workshops at the church in the village, all incredibly well attended, and we were really happy to see such interest. We did an online survey where about 450 people responded, and our final session was in March. That was the best attendance that we had of all of them. I'm going to ask Mike just to walk through the various portions of the plan.
Next slide, please. So this is the Bronte Harbor area, west of Bronte Road, south of Lakeshore, and north of Bronte Creek. So there's 2 key big moves here. First is the Metro Marine building, kind of revitalizing that as a community amenity and destination. So what you're seeing here is a building that might be rotated 90 degrees from where it is today to expose the long side of the building to the harbor. And the idea with that would be to kind of open up that long side to the harbor, perhaps with roll-up doors or some kind of indoor-outdoor amenity. It has the 2 big doors on the end, so this could really be a fantastic kind of outdoor pavilion, if you will, in the summer to host community events, whether it's farmers market, flea markets, art fairs, those kinds of things. And then the building itself would be a nucleus for other kind of pop-up activities, which could be both recreational and perhaps commercial. And that's what you see around it. So this would be like, shipping containers or small huts or things that would animate that area as a kind of nucleus or destination. There's the potential to connect this around the condominium building over to Bronte Road, and then further under the Lakeshore Bridge to connect to existing kind of sidewalks and paths that are already in place. The second big move here is the promenade along the north shore of Bronte Creek. This would be a kind of permanent, 40-foot wide swath of land that would be a series of outdoor rooms, again with recreational programming. It can be seating, outdoor patios, play equipment, sports courts, those kinds of things. So it's a series of events that would string the whole north side of that waterfront together. The whole area would still be flexible, would still accommodate boating and boat storage in the winter. And of course, there's a ton of parking there available for this, mostly underutilized today for those events. Last quick mention on this, a dedicated canoe kayak launch in Swan Cove, and that would include storage. So just kind of a more visible destination for that function. Next slide. Here's a view of the notion of the revitalized Metro Marine building, rotated, the big doors open, a community event spilling out, something going on inside, and then the notion of very easily and inexpensively, you can kind of animate the whole edge of that waterfront, you know, with planters and tables and chairs and a few kiosks of some kind that can, you know, can be retail or food services or what have you. Next slide. Images of the kind of idea that this master plan would create, you know, the indoor-outdoor connectivity. The notion of, top right is the notion of the spill out onto the boardwalk. Lower left, the idea of heritage interpretation, right? Telling the story of this building and the shipbuilding in the harbor and how important boating and the kind of former industrial uses in the harbor have been. And the lower right is the pop-up uses, which many cities all over the world are finding success with. Next slide. Here's our back to the Metro Marine building. So this is looking the other way along the promenade. Again, a series of outdoor rooms that can be programmed and have different facilities and different events going on. Next slide. This is the notion of that kind of skinny linear space right along the edge of the waterfront with different activities. So these are examples from other areas in the world. Next slide. South of Brawny Harbor, and this is in the Bluffs area, adjacent to the recent playground and boat launch improvements. There's two key things here. First, on the west side of Brawny Creek, a new water's edge boardwalk or route. This kind of completes the water's edge route around the creek. You know, everybody wants to be near the water's edge and walk along the water's edge, so that's an important link, and of course it would connect to the pier. The second piece of this is new parkland at the foot of Bronte Bluff. So this is a proposal to fill in a bit of the lake to add new parkland. This would not touch the bluffs themselves or the treat area at the top. This would be additional protection at the bottom. It would prevent erosion. And importantly, it would allow, again, that waterfront connection, multi-use path right along the waterfront, you know, part of a long-term strategy for the town to expand its water's edge route. This would be a longer-term play. This obviously requires a significant study through an environmental assessment. The drawing you see here is a kind of placeholder for what would ultimately be determined through that process. Next slide. On the left side, you know, these kind of water's edge improvements, many cities around the world are now turning to this a kind of an ecological improvement, right, where it's not just a hard edge and barren lands. This is about renaturalizing, revitalizing, both for ecology and for people. On the right side, that's the idea of the water's edge promenade along the creek, getting down. People love getting down towards the water with, you know, some kind of steps or terracing. Next slide. This is a view West River Road at the end of it, where in the foreground would be a kind of a new forecourt to the Sovereign House. And again, you would have wayfinding signage, perhaps into heritage interpretation. A great place for a piece of public art as a kind of lookout out over the lake there. And of course, that would wind down towards the left there, towards the beach. Next slide. Brawny Heritage Park, the town has done a fabulous job over the years of implementing the master plans as early as the 90s. So we're not touching what's been done, with a couple of small exceptions. First, we know the performance pavilion is well attended and has overflow seating needs, and so the idea is to create some paved areas there in the grass where it's just easy to bring a lawn chair, wheelchairs, strollers, bring your cooler, just to expand the seating options there. Potential for water-based programming there in that little nook in the marina, and then most of the change here is proposed to the east of the lighthouse building and the washrooms. Three things. One, the playground is nearing end of life, so the idea of renewing that, not with standard off-the-shelf kind of playground, but with a more adventure playground. It's more natural materials. It has a variety of different areas that cater to different play styles, and you know, it's much more imaginative in play. Second is this, what you see in white there, a big refrigerated skating loop. So this would be, many cities are building these. It's refrigerated, so it's guaranteed ice no matter the winter conditions, and that would be associated with a small new building just north of the washroom that would house the Zamboni, the refrigeration equipment. It could have an indoor area, you know, for skate leasing that's warm. It can have skate rentals in the summer. It could do equipment rentals for the park proper. And the third piece is over on the right side, the notion of an urban beach. I'll walk through, there's an image coming, I'll walk through that shortly. Next slide. Top left, that's the idea of this winter skating loop, very popular. It caters to little kids because it has small areas that are kind of out of the way for that kind of thing. The teens love it because there are big loops that they can kind of whiz around fast. And then the two playground images are from Bidisagi Park in Toronto, which, if you haven't visited, is a fabulous new park that exhibits some of the characteristics we're suggesting for Oakville. Next slide. There's the notion of this urban beach. So this is above the beach proper, where it can be, for lounging, it can be for beach volleyball tournaments, sandcastle contests, that kind of thing. So it's again, everything is open for programming. So next steps, there are some quick wins, some short-term initiatives. The seawall in Bronte Harbor is going to be reconstructed, so we can leverage that to begin to implement some of the promenade work. The Metro Marine building can be raised and flood-proofed. Do some of the initial investment the town needs to make to bring that building back up to kind of a serviceable life. The canoe kayak launch and the performance pavilion seating, these are fairly simple, easy, low-cost, quick wins. Playground replacement will need to come soonish at end of life. The idea with the skating loop is to do some detailed design now in the short term, so it's kind of shovel-ready, to take advantage of provincial and federal funding opportunities when elections come around. And then the medium to long term is kind of the rest of the plan, right? The flex plaza space around Metro Marine, some of the boardwalk pieces that would follow and latch on to the initial phases. And then lastly, the environmental assessment, the bluffs, that is a longer term play.
That completes our presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. We have hands on the screen, and they're for you, I think, so don't run away. We're going to start off with Councillor Chisholm.
Thank you, Worship. Great presentation. I like what we're seeing so far. But the only concern, and maybe it's premature, and maybe this is staff's comments, the Metro Marine building has to be reconfigured and moved. Will we receive an engineering report that is feasible, knowing that we're looking at 2027 for this move?
Through you, Mayor Burton. Yes, absolutely. We will be coming back to council on the relocation of the building. We certainly need to also go to Heritage Committee for that as well. One of the reasons we have a second recommendation in tonight's report to transfer those funds is so we can do that homework and do that work we need to do in order to bring back a comprehensive report to council on the move and the relocation of that building. So
Thanks,
that
Chris.
will be in early 2027.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ray. Councillor O'Meara?
Thank you very much. So just with regards to we'll start with the Bronte Bluffs first, where you said the little pathway to help shore up some of the coastal erosion. Would that be an opportunity to expand that EA to that rock island that there? Like, would the EA just be for the coastline, or would it also be for that little Bronte Beach area in there that we seem to have some flow issues with?
Right. Yeah, you would want to do a comprehensive EA right over to the beach. We know there's algae and odor issues over there, so it's an opportunity through studying that whole stretch of shoreline, and this is recommended by our shoreline engineer, is to look at everything, because the interventions at the bluffs can possibly solve that problem, and of course the whole thing will get looked at by DFO and MNFR and for fish compensation and that kind of thing, so absolutely.
Perfect. And then maybe, I know I don't want to preempt some of our delegates, but I know some of them had some issues with sort of sight lines from the condominium buildings out over there. There was conversation about moving the building perhaps further west, and maybe you flip where the pop-ups go to open up that vista for residents in 102. So that is a decision that staff will be making later on the location that's not encompassed, the precise location in this report here tonight, is it?
I think that's fair to say that staff will continue to study it based on the feasibility of moving it. It's not like the building can't be moved. It's going to be a question of what it costs to move and what the implications are. for that. But yeah, absolutely. There is some flexibility.
Okay.
Heritage is an important issue too, and understanding the relationship of that heritage asset to the harbor and what it means from that perspective is another factor, I think.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Sean. Councillor McNeese.
Yes, through your worship, thanks for the presentation and all the engagement that's been going on the past 9-10 months. Just a couple of questions. As far as the rotation of Metro Marine, you know, you've mentioned it has to go through heritage. There is a cultural heritage landscape. View sheds from the water are also important. How critical is that rotation? I'm just sort of preempting, if we can't rotate it, then what do we do?
Through you, Mayor Burton, we are not completely married to rotating the building. We need to make a compelling reason to Heritage Committee in order to turn the building, because the way it sits today is heritage, the way the building sits with the doors facing the lake. So that is what we need to do over the next number of months, is come back to you with options for, in terms of placement of the building further to the west, as well as a pro-con analysis of rotating the building. I am confident we can still achieve most, if not all, of the parameters of the study, whether the building is turned or not. Turning it would be nice, but I don't think it is the be-all and end-all of the plan. The plan is far greater than just turning the building.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that clarity. I just wanted to dive into the pop-ups a little bit more, because I think that's gotten a reaction from the public a little bit. And when I read the report here, I see pop-ups defined as it could be a food or commercial vendor, but also as recreational or cultural uses, furnishings, which I guess is tables, chairs, sort of these living rooms that you've described, pocket parks, which I guess would be temporary in nature and change the theme, public art. Could you maybe just elaborate on your vision for pop-ups, and is it just sort of food retail, or is it a variety of things, and how do you decide?
I think it can be just about anything that the community would like to see down there, and just about anything that an operator might bring forward to the town. They're often used to test ideas, and we heard it beautifully described by the BIA. They're often businesses that have a bricks and mortar store that has a pop-up summer event. Could be pop-ups that are run by university kids that want to sell ice. The possibilities are limitless, and just about every waterfront that I visit now, there are phenomenal examples of temporary retail. And it's, like I said before, it's very much about testing what's working and not working. That's the beauty of it being a pop-up, that it doesn't have to reappear the next summer if it's not successful.
Okay, thanks for that elaboration. And then maybe just talk to how that connects to the vision for Metro Marine. You know, we've had past visions, I think 2018 or so, for Metro Marine as sort of a stagnant use, and that didn't really get any traction. But if you could just elaborate the connection between pop-ups and the Metro Marine uses that you envision.
Yeah, so for Metro Marine, we envision, I guess, a two-pronged approach. One is we think it's very important that the town take a hard look at programming this facility, because you're going to invest in the shell, but then it needs to be animated, because it's not a destination in and of itself. Don't quote me off the top of my head, but there's a program of community events, which could be the farmers market type of use. The art fairs, those kinds of things, but there's also some revenue potential in the sense that you could lease that building out, rent the space out for, again, maybe it's the farmer's market that leases the space or something like that. So the idea is that becomes an anchor that attracts the pop-ups to the area right along the waterfront. So by programming it, you attract more pop-ups, if you will.
Okay, yeah, so it sounds like you're saying it can expand and contract based on what the community wants to see.
Yes.
Okay, then just a little bit about parking, as Councillor Chisholm mentioned. So in the Inner Harbor, I mean, when I look at the map, I see less available space for parking, seeing there's a 40-foot wide boardwalk and a few other things going on, but I also see that there's listed 154 parking spaces. So is that sort of an optimization exercise that you're seeing there? Because now it's currently a seasonal lot that's open to the public, and then boaters seem to have quite a bit of space for parking during the peak time when boats aren't being stored there. So are you suggesting sort of an optimization but less surface area for parking?
The 150 represents, fair to say, the shrinkage of the total asphalt area, because yeah, some of it would be dedicated to a permanent green promenade along the waterfront. So our understanding that parking lot is pretty underutilized, and so notwithstanding the new promenade, there would still be 150 stalls available right there. You know, and this is obviously summer type parking because the boat storage is there in the winter.
Okay. Okay. I think that's it. Yeah, thanks for that clarity. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor. Well, thank you very much to the Planning Partnership. Council, with your consent, I'll ask the clerk to resume calling the delegations. Mr. Clerk.
Harry Shea.
Mr. Shea, welcome. It's good to see you in the non-virtual form.
It's good to be here. Good evening, Mayor Burton and members of Town Council. Bronte Harbor is on the verge of a once-in-a-generation transformation with the approval of this strategy before you tonight. I want to commend Rakesh, Beth, and Chris Mark's team at Parks and Open Space for producing a thoughtful, community-informed plan that reflects 9 months of genuine engagement with the people who love this waterfront. And of course, the consultant works from the Planning Partnership. Beyond the Council's endorsement of the strategy before you, I also want to speak directly to what the BVRA believes is the heart of the plan. It deserves Council's particular attention tonight. Next slide, please. At its core, this strategy is about transforming Bronte Harbor from a beautiful but arguably under-leveraged asset into a truly four-season destination. A plan that welcomes residents and visitors year-round, while also honoring the heritage and natural character that makes this place special. The public engagement process validated that vision. Over 450 survey responses with 3 public meetings. The message was consistent. People want better connections, better amenities, and a waterfront that's alive beyond the summer months. This strategy answers that call. The BVRA supports the full project list. Staff doesn't prioritize the projects, respecting the budgeting process and recognizing that future projects are subject to future technical studies, environmental assessments, and public consultations, which is why tonight I want to focus my time on 3 aspects of this plan. Next slide, please. First, let me start with the Bronte Inner Harbor Promenade, because I do not think it gets enough attention relative to its importance. This is listed as a short-term project, and I want to strongly affirm that priority because the promenade is not just one project among many, it is the connective tissue that makes every other investment on the waterfront work. Think about a well-designed inner harbor promenade actually does. It creates a continuous pedestrian experience that links the outer harbor to the inner harbor, that ties the waterfront to Bronte Village, and gives people a reason to walk, to linger, to return. If we reposition the Metro Marine building and the surrounding footprint without the promenade, connecting them to the broader waterfront, we will have built destinations without the path to reach them. Let's not make that mistake. The public has clearly stated they want better pedestrian and cycle connections along the inner and outer harbor. The promenade is the single element that directly delivers that commitment. I would ask Council to treat the inner harbor promenade as the foundational infrastructure of this entire strategy, the project that unlocks the value of everything else. It should be the first in the queue for capital spending, and staff should be directed to advance design work as early as 2027 allows. Next slide, please. Second, the Metro Marine Building is not just a structure, but a symbol. It carries the history of the boat building and repair at Bronte Harbor. It is a designated heritage asset, and according to the strategy, which is mentioned multiple times, it is the focal point for the rejuvenation of the entire inner harbor. The good news is, circumstances have handed us a rare alignment of opportunity and necessity. The seawall replacement, scheduled to begin in winter 2027, requires that this building be relocated. That work is happening regardless. The building must be moved. So the question before Council tonight is, when we move it, do we simply set it down and wait 4 to 7 years, or do we seize the moment to reposition it as the centerpiece of a transformed waterfront by moving the timeline up? I'm asking Council to choose the latter, and I'm asking you to treat the Metro Marine redevelopment not as a medium-term aspiration in the 4 to 7 year time frame, but as a near-term priority that runs in parallel with the relocation work already funded. Every month that the building sits unused after relocation, it's a missed chance to activate the inner harbor. Next slide, please. And when we talk about the Metro Marine Building, we can't separate it from the flexible plaza space proposed directly adjacent to it. This pairing is what turns a renovated heritage building into a genuine destination. The strategy describes the plaza as an adaptable public space that can flex with the seasons. Unlike many waterfront investments, this doesn't require years of environmental assessment. With thoughtful design and modest capital, it could be operational within the same window as the building relocation. Once again, I encourage Council to direct staff to advance the plaza design concurrently with the Metro Marine relocation, treating them as a single integrated project. The promenade brings people there, the buildings anchor the space, the plaza activates it. Also, the strategy identifies OMSAR, the Oakville Marine Search and Rescue Operation, as a potential tenant for the Metro Marine Building. Next slide, please. The Metro Marine Building, as this strategy envisions, is meant to be a flexible space. The moment an operational marine service takes up residence, even partially, the calculus changes. I would ask Council to direct staff as Metro Marine planning proceeds to identify a separate and appropriate home for OMSAR. Resolve it now while the options are still open. Next slide, please. Before I ask for Council's endorsement to the plan before you, I want to add one element to this discussion. It is the balance between strategic planning, which is the backbone of my delegation, and the importance of seeking an easy win to capture the community's attention. It's the ultimate, let's get the ball rolling. Next slide, please. If there is one easy win, it is the skating loop. We've talked for years about an ice skating feature in the park, but the opportunity or funding never seemed right. We can think back to the Butterfly Park and the Winter Skateway, which never took flight. The skating loop is now within our grasp. If memory serves me correct, we should have bonus money from the previous developments in Bronte. The BVRA has advocated numerous times to have those monies stay in the community. If we truly have funds available, I would urge Council to direct those funds to facilitate the skating loop, which will be a true community benefit. Next slide, please. And finally, I urge Council to endorse the strategy, approve the budget reallocation, and direct staff to advance the Metro Marine Building and Inner Harbor Promenade as a near-term priority. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Shea. Well, let's see if you have questions from Councillor McNeese.
Thank you, through your worship, and thank you, Mr. Shea, for your delegation in person. Just while it's fresh, I just wanted to get some clarity from staff on a few points that Mr. Shea brought up. So for the repositioning of Metro Marine, and just trying to clarify these timelines here, and I think, Mr. Shea, you were talking about the repositioning Metro Marine and the flexible space as a kind of combined project. Maybe just to staff, how do you see that unfolding? Metro Marine building redevelopment, you're thinking it's going to take a couple years and then sort of open when there's flexible space around it, or is it a two-step process? Or
through you, Mayor Burton, it can be a two-step process. We definitely need to remove the building because, as Mr. Shea said, the seawall needs to be rebuilt and the building is essentially in the way of the tiebacks for the wall. We would look to relocate the building, and we only want to relocate the building once. So we would move the building in a location that would allow the future promenade to be constructed. With the wall that we're going to be building in the winter of 27 and 28, there will be a narrow boardwalk, about a 3 meter wide boardwalk that will go with that wall, because people have to get to the boats and they have to walk along a promenade. So there will be a pedestrian corridor along the top of the wall, regardless of when we build the wider promenade. They will be complementary. So again, you can only also do so much work in 1 year, and that's a concern as well. So my suggestion would be it would be a two-step process, which we'd come back to define exactly where the building should go and how it should be positioned. Secondly, in order to refurbish the building, it's going to take a couple of years to refurbish that building because it needs a lot of work. So there we're probably talking, I would think, a minimum of about 2 years to do that. Now, whether council wishes to also push forward the promenade during that time period to be coincidental, that's a council decision. It can be done separately, it can be done in tandem, it's all about funding, but the key piece is to get the building moved and only move it once and have it in the right spot. And we will come back to council with that recommendation in likely first quarter of 27.
okay, thanks. I think that provides some clarity that there's still some more work to be done, but obviously it's a tricky project. And another question, just on the bonusing dollars, you mentioned, which I also see is in one of our consent items that we'll be talking about later in 9.3. So I'm not sure who on staff would have information, or maybe we hear about it later. How was that decision made? Were I think it's 900 and some odd thousand now. How could it be attributed to a project like this, or an element of a project?
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Burton, there is almost $900,000 that the town has collected in bonusing dollars. Elements of this plan are eligible for funding through that bonusing funds. My suggestion would be that it's something that would be considered through the upcoming budget process. We can include those capital projects with that source of funding from the bonusing that we have in reserves.
Okay, so it would be through the 2027 budget process?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thanks for that clarity, and thank you, Mr. Shea.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Clerk?
Brian Delory.
Mr. Delory, Council looks forward to your information.
We're on?
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Mayor Burton, councilors, thank you for the opportunity to talk tonight about something near and dear to our hearts, the Bronte waterfront. Bronte Village is a unique gem on the waterfront of Oakville. Its peaceful tranquility and waterfront access, combined with local restaurants and businesses, had made it a favorite destination for residents and visitors alike. We, the owners and residents of Pier 12 at Bronte Road, have enjoyed the many improvements to the area completed under ongoing Bronte waterfront strategy and look forward to the next phase of development. Current water level, approximately 12 inches below the seawall, make it clear that raising seawall is an immediate need. We are pleased that Council has a plan in place to address this as the foundation for the inner harbor elements of the improvement strategy. Everyone can agree that the inner harbor would benefit greatly from investment in order to enhance its visual appeal and usability while maintaining the space as a functioning harbor. We strongly encourage the town to keep the scenic character and heritage of Bronte at the forefront of the next phase of development. On tonight's agenda, repositioning of the Metro Marine Building, the amount of, let's round it up to $1 million if that's okay. The Marine Building is the last standing contribution to Oakville's marine heritage. Our community is pleased to see restoration plans for the historical part of our Bronte Village and accept that when open to the public, this will bring increased noise and light pollution to our home. We strongly disagree, however, with the suggested waterfront strategy plan to rotate the building 90 degrees. The planned rotation will have a number of negative effects, namely, the original and historical purpose and function of the building will forever be compromised. The giant doors face the lake for a reason. The waterfront will be more obstructed at a key junction of the river's curve towards the lake, which is a lovely aspect of the inner harbor. The existing condominium residential units will no longer have the view and enjoyment of the river that they invested in, some many decades ago. The rotation of the Marine Building appeared more recently in the strategy presentations by planning partnership consultants and the town. Artist depiction of the waterfront tables with occupants enjoying lunch in the newly positioned buildings, referencing Halifax and other boardwalk-friendly towns as examples. I was born in Halifax and have had the privilege of watching the incredible reconstruction of the Halifax waterfront after the horrific destruction from Hurricane Juan in 2003. It's absolutely world-class. However, no new commercialization was introduced within mere feet of residents' home. The Marine Building is currently 75 feet from our bedroom window and the bedroom windows of many in our building. Imagine purchasing a home facing a floodplain with a recognized and protected heritage building in place. Who would dream a proposal no less to fund at a cost of $989,000 rotation and move of the heritage building with the assumption if we build it, they will come, over the rights of those who have purchased and lived in that space, some for decades. If I were an entrepreneur and approached the town to build a commercial venture in this space, I would expect it would be denied as it's a floodplain. This would not differ from the current owner's intentions for the Greb lands. Funding to rotate and move the Marine Building for any commercial purpose now or in the future would hence be a contradiction and dangerous precedent by the town. As residents, when we pay tax and vote, we look for sensible and cost-effective improvements of parks and infrastructure. The consultants from Planning Partnership, when asked if they had visited our building to appreciate the impact, responded with, "We have never been invited." I provided my name, phone number to Donna Hind, who spoke earlier, and no attempts were made to contact me. Unfortunately, very disappointing, disingenuous, and disrespectful as a resident that close to the impacts. I would suggest that partnerships would include the residents in the very space you are providing consultation on. I do want to thank Councillors O'Meara and McNeese for taking us up on our offer to visit the space and talk about what our concerns are, and for some of your very insightful questions tonight. Thank you. We recognize the need to raise and retrofit the building, but please return it to its intended and rightful siting when complete so that future generations may enjoy and appreciate why it's there and the purpose that it served. Many residents attended the public sessions on March 24th, 2026 and April 30th, and we agree wholeheartedly that the Inner Harbor will benefit greatly from investment. However, several additional concerns were raised by owners and residents, and I've heard questions about them tonight. We must register our strong opposition to the proposed pop-ups and cultural events that are suggested mere feet from balconies and residences of the Pier 10 building. These events would directly and materially impact the parking availability for boaters, visitors, the environment, safety, and security of Bronte residents whose patios and balconies are in that actual space. The pop-ups and cultural use area will create significant impacts to the environment, such as garbage management, emissions from cookie vents, generators, and noise pollution. The Heritage Waterfront Park has already been successfully developed for festivals, concerts, cultural events. It is well suited to hold such programming while maintaining meaningful separation from residential events. When significant events do happen in the Heritage Waterfront Park, the entire area is congested, including the Inner Harbor. Parking availability for boaters and visitors to Bronte will be significantly reduced, as well as this concern has not been, to the best of our knowledge, addressed. And again, more discussion tonight and concerns on parking in the area. As the town finalizes development plans for Inner Harbor, we ask that it be preserved as a calm and peaceful space, one that offers a quieter waterfront experience distinct from the programming already served by Heritage Waterfront Park and the Outer Harbor. The area has genuine unmet need for amenities such as walking trails, scenic seating, gardens, and relaxing spaces. We welcome enhancements such as a fitness trail, outdoor fitness stations, additional bike racks, interpretive gardens highlighting local flora and fauna, as well as the discussed reconditioning of the marine building. We respectfully ask that the town respect our input as those most impacted by change, and likewise those same residents witness on a daily basis those who come seeking the natural beauty of this space. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Delory.
You're welcome.
You have questions from Councillor McNeice.
Thank you, through your worship, and thanks, Brian, for your delegation. It was, and thanks for the invite over to your place of residence and encouraging us to have the additional public meeting, which we had at over at the church. So just regarding Metro Marine, we've tried in the past to find a use for it. Its current form for repairing boats, really, staff will correct me if I'm wrong, but really doesn't meet the code for that building, and to bring it up to code would be a significant investment for fire suppression and various things like that. What is your vision for the building, and should we put all our eggs in one basket and try to guess what it's going to be used for, and not knowing if there's fully demand, or should we keep it flexible so that it can adapt?
I think that it should be reconditioned and retrofitted to reflect its original intention and grandeur, beauty. Doors open to the public for public events. Would hate to see and don't see how the area could support it turning into a bar or a restaurant. That would be horrific. For those that live in the area, and parking again, etc., that would be a negative thing. Really, some of the discussion points on cue with, just trying to demonstrate what it did and talk about landmarks that discuss the history of the area and to show what it did inside. I think, yeah, maybe you could. In Halifax, they've got areas that bring seniors in to build boats, things like that.
And I think in Halifax, great example, I think of the structure they have that's a market one day, and then, not that we're getting cruises, but it's just like a cruise terminal another day, and then it's like a variety of uses. So the vision you describe, unless I'm missing something here, that's what's being proposed, a restoration, reflection of its past. I saw imagery of a boat hanging, from the ceiling to talk about shipbuilding. And staff, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm understanding that's the direction that we're going in here so that it can have a variety of uses and the community can help determine those uses, and it'll be town-owned. So if it doesn't meet our needs, then, you know, we can deal with it versus, you know, it's not being sold to somebody.
Yeah, the key, I think my big point is the relocation of the building
Sure.
to turn it sideways. If you can imagine what the impact to the residents is of that building.
Yeah, and no, I stood on your balcony, I see what you're saying, and are you comfortable with the answer we got from staff in that, you know, we'll it sounds like we'll consider both options. You know, I don't think it's a done deal that it gets rotated. I'm on the Heritage Committee as well. There's concerns from a heritage standpoint that that view shed coming in the harbor, you know, for, you know, 70 years or so, we've seen that building there. So I see Director Mark behind you, which I think might want to elaborate, but.
Through you, Mayor Burton, no, Councilor McNeese, you said it all correctly.
Okay.
We will come back with another report on the building. I want to be clear, though, the building does need to get moved because it's basically in the way. So whether we move the building in its current configuration further west or whether it moves west and rotates, that is still to be determined. But I don't want to mislead anyone by thinking we're going to move it to do the seawall and then pick it up and move it back again. That's not the intention. It's to move it once and once only and put it on a solid foundation.
Okay, and my understanding is, you know, the adjacent landowners there aren't as concerned about it sort of shifting right or left a little bit. It's more the rotation of 90 degrees. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'm curious, what would the distance, you're talking about relocating it, I understand the 90-degree rotation, what's the distance west that's being proposed?
Yeah, and I think that's part of what's coming back to us. Is that correct? Yeah, so staff are nodding that's sort of what we have to determine. I mean, without getting into weeds, I think there's tiebacks that happen way below that they have to figure out how to engineer that properly to protect us from the 100-year storm. So it sounds like we're going to get a report back, and obviously your building and everyone in the community will have a chance to review that and comment as well. I just wanted to again reiterate the pop-ups because I think we're fearing the worst here, and a lot of the items you mentioned as far as gardens or pocket parks or sort of public arts or furnishings are also considered sort of pop-ups. I think the idea is just that it rotates so it creates some intrigue. Much like, you know, I drove past Spencer Smith Park and they've got, you know, a month-long art show happening on, you know, sort of pillars there, and then it's there for a month and it's gone, and you have something else. Sorry?
That's my daughter, Chanel.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if you're aware, but Community Living Oakville has
Okay.
a strike with their workers, so Chanel is with us tonight.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for
Yeah,
coming,
no problem.
Chanel.
Welcome. Okay, so, I mean, pop-ups, I understand you don't want a lineup of food trucks and, you know, sort of all that stuff, but the concept of rotating uses that can be active, passive, is that something that seems reasonable, or?
I think as long as distances are respectful from the building and thought of what's going to be in those as opposed to anything fits anywhere.
Right.
Absolutely, and you know, to be involved in future discussions and considerations would be appreciated.
Sure, and certainly with events in the outer harbor that are currently happening, we take in a lot of public feedback and try to make adaptations based on, you know, nuisances and things like that. But that's one of the joys of sort of being temporary in nature. Related to the parking, certainly number one topic in Bronte always, and you know, in this plan, it does seem like there is you know, some flexibility in parking, but also there's every plan parking is considered. So our streetscape plan has, I think, up to 70 spots on the street where the businesses are. You know, and going forward, we have a parking study coming next year, 2027, that will take a deeper dive in it. As new buildings are developed, we're trying to figure out how do you secure some access to that first floor there and make it sort of green pea parking, which you would see in Toronto or Hamilton or other places. So I just want you to know that parking is a part of every plan. There isn't a silver bullet. If you build a big parking garage, it'll always be in the wrong place for half the community. And big parking garages, in Burlington's case, have about 10% utilization on average. So where we are, they don't tend to get used a lot. And just one final point, my understanding, and if staff can correct me if I'm wrong, the Inner Harbor is mostly intended to be seasonal in nature, sort of an expansion in the summer, but sort of what happens today in the winter, boat storage, sort of those much quieter uses. Is that fair to say? I'm getting some nods there, so.
Through you, Mayor Burton, yes, that is correct. It would return to the current situation we have today, which is boat storage.
Okay. Okay, thanks again for your delegation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Clerk.
Jason Pierce.
Mr. Pierce, welcome. Council looks forward to your information.
And good evening to you all. Thank you, Your Honor and honorable councilors. My name is Jason Pierce. I live at 102 Bronte Road. That's the building that has the most concern, is 102 Bronte Road.
Mr. Pierce, would you do the public at home a favor by, there's a button on this table to your left that Natasha's showing you. It'll raise everything up for you.
Well, this
There
is
you
nice.
go.
Only in Oakville we get, this is why I moved back to Oakville, you know.
So,
Only in
so
Oakville.
now you can address the microphone and everyone will be able to hear you.
Thank you kindly. Yes, so I'm from 102 Bronte Road. This is what we're concerned about. And we're talking about the most westerly side of the building is what the focal point is. As far as what has been proposed here, I grew up in Oakville myself too. I went to school here. My parents all worked here. And Bronte is definitely one of the crown jewels of our province. 100%. We can bring a lot of business in. Lots is going to happen. But there is just one problem. It's flawed, what they're planning to do. It's grossly flawed. And the reason why it's flawed is because these people that are sitting all here are from our building. We're the grassroots of that area. Some people that may be doing some of the planning don't actually live in the area.
Mr. Pierce?
Yes.
If you're not near the microphone,
Very good.
people won't be hearing you.
That's a good suggestion. Thank you again. So my point being is that when you turn your head to what they have planned, if you go actually to the west side, I invite you, before you're voting, go to the west side of the building where there's the area where the Metro building is, etc. Go take a look at that. Close your eyes and open it and think of pop-ups, beaver tails, whatever it may be that creates a noise factor. Now we can all say, gee, there's a bylaw in Oakville. You can make all the noise you like, kind of, within reason, I guess, till 11 o'clock. But what about common courtesy for the people that live in that side of the building? What about the people that invested millions of dollars in time and things that they've done? Those people are the people that we care about. And that's what Oakville's been built on. That's what I grew up with in this town, this common courtesy. So we just say very nicely, please build what you're planning to do, but please, if you're going to put something on the west side of the building, we need to keep our peace and quiet. If you want to see the face of this community, we're senior citizens in that area, and we're asking you to reflect the senior citizen taste to this building. That's where we're from. So we beg you, please, if you're going to approve this, please put, with condition, the west side of the building absolutely has to be shh, just like the way it's always been, right? So we have people here that have other concerns as well in that west side of the building. I draw your attention to one part of it, is the fire escape. It goes right out into the parking lot. And I'm sure the fire marshal's office is going to have something to say about that, okay? Not to mention the security, even as it is, where there's not a lot of people going through that area. We have one resident here that's in the back, that young lady that's sitting second row. She lives in fear sometimes of people going up that fire escape at her at night. Okay, she doesn't have to deserve to have that. They have people come up and say, hey, can we use your washroom? constantly, okay? And this is what goes on in the area. As far as parking in the area, I have formal education in traffic control from the City of Toronto, okay, for a gross number of years. And I'm going to put the tire on the road for you. If you allow a number of excess traffic to come in like the way you are, fatalities are going to go up in the area. I cross that road on Bronte Road every day on the lakeshore, and I see things going on every day. People are going to die because you're bringing in too much traffic at one time. People are going to be parking over top of each other. I don't know where you're going to plan the parking. The only thing I'm thinking is if you build some structure down the street, but then how you people are going to get to that hub, though. You follow me? And that's what we're concerned about, too. Okay? And that's basically what I wanted to say tonight.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Pierce.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Council appreciates all your input. All right, I'm going to confine the matter to table, and I'll ask for Council, what do you want to do now, Council? Councilor O'Meara.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd move the recommendations in the report, and if I might speak to it, if you would indulge me.
Let me just get a seconder. Councilor McNeese, you did as I hoped. Councilor O'Meara, it is your floor now.
Well, thank you very much, and just thank you very much to the residents who have shown up and eloquently expressed their concerns, which are very, very valid, and they're very thoughtful, and we appreciate that. And to the BIA and the businesses and the hundreds of residents who I know both Jonathan and I have talked to informally as well, just about what we're doing here, and this is a 30,000-foot look at what can be generational change in Bronte Harbor, much like the Heritage Waterfront Park was at the time when it was put into. It faced the same concerns and the same sort of consternation from some individuals about what was going to happen there, and we worked through it, and we continue to work through it, and this is an evolving sort of process, and I think we've heard from our director and from staff, there is nothing we are going to do down there that is not going to have the input of the residents, both who directly are impacted by it, but of course all residents across the town of Oakville, because this waterfront is not just ours, it's everyone's in Oakville, and I think there is a lot of good things going to happen here. And this is a good news story about what we're going to do here, and we're not going to be impeding anywhere. But our staff have put yeoman's work in here on this, and they have listened, and Jonathan and I have listened, and all their council colleagues are listening here to what your concerns are, and I know we will take those away and have them in our pockets every time we're coming back to council, and we will ensure that you are constantly brought into this process, because again, this is what makes our community so good. So I'm excited about a lot of this stuff. I won't have to be out there at midnight icing down a rink in the park that doesn't freeze. So hopefully we can move ahead with that. But I do appreciate that, and I think there's vibrancy here for everyone, for young families, for seniors. We saw when we built the waterfront trail and we redid the coastal shoreline in behind Ennisclair, what that pathway has done for many seniors in the community walking and kids in scooter, and not scooters, kids in, that's a bad word now, kids and families with strollers and people with walkers now have the ability to be near the water, and that's really something that we cherish. So we're looking forward to the next step here in what that entails, looking forward to working with everybody around this table and with the community to make it the best that it can be. And I think it's going to be a really great legacy for all of us to leave our kids and our grandkids. So thank you very much, Your Worship, for allowing me to make those comments.
They're perfectly in order, Councillor. Councillor McNeese?
Through Your Worship, I just have a quick question of staff before some prepared remarks, if that's okay. I just wanted to make sure, and I don't know if I saw it called out in the report, that we have the Ontario Heritage Trails going through the waterfront there with the kiosk and Fisherman's Wharf. Is that something that will be sort of reflected in part of that visual history and the signage and wayfinding that is described in the report?
Through you, Mayor Burton, certainly. Are you referring to the Metro Marine building in particular, or are you talking about wayfinding in general?
So I'm talking about the Ontario Heritage Trail that passes through that area. It's where the Heritage kiosk is. That's on Ontario Street.
Right. So we have that is the Community Foundation of Oakville Heritage Trail kiosk.
Yes.
So that does tell the history of Bronte already. And I think as we develop our wayfinding signage package, and in particular, as we evolve the building at Metro Marine, we will continue that history of Bronte inside the building and elsewhere, as we've done in the Fisherman's Memorial to the fishermen in Bronte. So I think we have a good history of reflecting the history of Bronte already, and that will continue as we evolve this plan.
Okay, so it sounds like a spine of this is sort of a heritage or a heritage journey you can go on through the waterfront.
Certainly it is. I mean, it's a cultural heritage landscape, and we need to reflect that in many ways, and that will include signage.
Perfect. And, waterfronts are these interesting areas of multi-jurisdiction, and certainly with the Outer Harbor, we had the feds, the province, the region, the town. Early on, we've talked with the feds and the province. Do you think it'd be reasonable to share the report, or do you need that as part of the motion to share it with the province and the feds or MPs and convene a meeting to start talking about this? Because I feel that they may have some interest as well, or how should we go about that?
Through you, Mayor Burton, we have identified in our intergovernmental affairs the importance of purchasing those lands. So I know we're in constant contact with the federal government in particular, because the provincial government has really signed off on it already. And so we'll continue to pursue that. We'll share with them what we have planned for those lands, because that's an important reason why we want to purchase the lands or acquire the lands.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, that will absolutely continue.
Okay, and I think even just further to that, sometimes at waterfronts, I think of Port Dalhousie, other places where the feds have interest in investing dollars into transforming a waterfront, and I think this is a spectacular plan. So if we could share that with we'll do it. But if we could formally make them aware of the future we see here on Lake Ontario and encourage their investment as well.
So I don't see it in the actual recommendation, but you could certainly refer the plan to the appropriate ministry so that they have it in hand. That wouldn't be out of order.
Would that be okay to include that, Your Worship?
Yes, yes, sir. I think you can, in the interest of time, the words appropriate ministries would suffice.
Sure, and our MPs and MPPs, please. Thank you. With that, I just have a few remarks, if you'll indulge me.
It's your floor.
Okay, thank you. So I just certainly echo Councillor O'Mara's remarks, and I just want to provide some context of where Bronte is today and how this is such an important plan to be implemented in our future. And I sort of think of it as downtown cultural hub as such a visionary plan for downtown Oakville, and this is the plan that can really transform our community. So for nearly a decade, those that live in Bronte, Bronte Village, our village has been dramatically changing. If you live between Bronte Road and East Street, which is the 4 blocks that makes up our mixed-use district, life has not been defined by the rhythm of Lake Ontario, but by relentless grinding hum of near-permanent construction. For about the last, currently half our streets are experiencing closures, restrictions, or obstructions of some nature. Those of you that read the Oakville News will have seen that we made it to the cartoon section there for the many detours that are currently going on in Bronte Village. So, we're living in this construction zone where, the backdrop is fencing and pylons and excavation pits. And then a project like this provides some light at the end of the tunnel. But with more projects coming up, we have Lakeshore Road reconstruction, more buildings coming. That means nearly a decade of construction. And yet, look what this community has achieved in the face of that exhaustion. Our Lake Notes concert series continues. The Wind Orchestra still plays. Our Farmers Market is vibrant. Our Canada Day celebration is preserved. and the Legion's parades and programmings continue, as well as our Christmas tree lighting and so much more. They all proceed not because the environment is as welcoming as it used to be, but because the volunteers in our businesses and our residents refuse to let the spirit of Bronte be erased by a cement mixer. We have had to step up where others have stepped back. When our public spaces need some attention or get overlooked, it's our residents and our institutions and our businesses who organize and advocate to make it better. They do the heavy lifting, both metaphorically and literally. But resilience is not a policy. It is not a substitute for municipal stewardship. And let me remind Council, as Councillor O'Meara mentioned, the last big plan for Bronte's waterfront was for the Outer Harbour in the 1990s, and that was rejected by Town Council due to fear of the unknown. But fortunately, the region had the foresight, along with the province and the feds, to move it forward. And now we have Bronte Heritage Waterfront Park that I haven't had a complaint or anyone say that they wish that wasn't there. But too often, Bronte is treated like a local enclave as it once used to be. And historically, it was the wrong side of the tracks. That is fundamentally misunderstood, though, through the town's geography, as Bronte is part of its soul. Bronte is a destination for every resident of Oakville, and it's where families from the north come to introduce their children to the lake. It is where an evening stroll for seniors living in the community is enjoyed, an ice cream, boat watching, and many children and families go fishing for the first time. During our festivals, Bronte is the living room of our town. In terms of culture, tourism, and waterfront access, Bronte is every bit as essential as downtown Oakville. Yet while downtown has seen significant and consistent investment in streetscapes and public facilities, Bronte is still catching up. We're missing some basic amenities like a library and a skating rink, which is fortunately proposed here, and parking continues to come up. We have also been accustomed or become accustomed to some of the ugly wallpaper, as some would call, in our village. That's the hoarding, the fencing, and the construction cones. We have become numb to some of these conditions that other places may not tolerate. So I say that because tonight we are not just asking for approval of a plan, but we're asking for a commitment to invest in Bronte's waterfront for the sake of the livability of the town of Oakville. We have brought research, ideas. We've heard from nearly 1,000 residents and businesses in one way or another, and we have some potential funding opportunities before us. We've engaged with town staff, consultants, or MPs or MPPs. We need a recognition and a commitment to move this plan forward at all levels. And along with our streetscape plan, they need to be more than just drawings on a paper. They need to be urgent commitments that show up in the capital budget until they're fully implemented. To our partners, I'm grateful that they'll be receiving it, the provincial and federal government. We want them to know that Bronte is a critical piece of Ontario's waterfront infrastructure. We invite you to step in and to step up and step in. Join the town of Oakville in a true partnership to transform our waterfronts, our village, and our town. So in closing, summer is coming, our patios will be open, and the thousands of Oakville residents that descend on our village will enjoy the lake as they always do. The community will be there to welcome them because that's what we do. Investing in Bronte is not just a local expenditure, it's an investment in the quality of life of every single person who calls Oakville home. Let us move past the construction fatigue, let us move past the temporary measures, and let us finally give Bronte the future it has earned. Over the weekend, many may have seen online, there was a vigorous discussion that over the course of a couple hours, hundreds engaged with their passion about Bronte, but also their frustration of the current state of affairs. On behalf of all those residents and everyone here tonight, Sean and I are asking all members of council not just support this plan, but support the continued investments that are needed to move this plan forward, not just for Bronte, but for all residents of Oakville. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McNeice. Council, are there any other speakers, or shall I call a vote? All right. Is there any objection to the proposal as recorded in your agenda and supplemented by distribution to appropriate ministries? Mr. Clerk, there is no objection. It passes unanimously. The opposition you were fearing has not materialized, at least not here. All right, Council, it does seem to be approaching the witching hour. Just give everybody a little reminder that 10:30 is our stopping time. But I believe that many members would benefit from a brief bio break. So I'm going to call a 10-minute recess, and then we will resume at 9:22. Okay?
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
All right, council is back in session. I welcome everybody back. The first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to ask Councillor Knoll to move the confidential recommendation in 12.1. And can I get a second for that? Councillor Chisholm, thank you. Is there any objection? There being no objection, Mr. Clerk, that is carried. And the next thing I'd like to do is I'd like to get a motion to refer all of the consent items to tomorrow night's council meeting. And Councillor Adams, thank you, and Councillor Lischina, thank you, mover and seconder. Any objection? There being no objection, that carries. And council, that leaves us with 11.5 and 11.4. I'm anticipating that 11.5 is going to take conceivably a long time. And 11.4 is a very long item and has a very important and long presentation. So I'm going to ask that we also have a motion to refer 11.4 to tomorrow night's council meeting. Councillor Adams and Councillor Lischina, thank you. Councillor Dudek, I saw your hand belatedly. Any opposed to that? There being none opposed, that carries 2. And that gives us all the time in the world for 11.5. And where did I just move that piece of paper? I think I moved it here. Thank you. All right. So, and if we're wrong about how long this is going to take, you get a bonus. You get to leave. The meeting may end before the hockey game does, and we'll find out how that's going. So we now have a report on Bronny Road temporary
Point of
one-way-
order, Your Worship. The score is 2-2. Just like
Yeah, but what period? Oh, all right. It's still a game. You don't know how it's going to turn out yet, Janet. All right. We have a report on Bronny Road temporary one-way configuration and a presentation from Jennifer Trimble, the acting right-of-way manager. Ms. Trimble, it's too bad that desk doesn't raise up like this one does.
Yeah, I'm a little tall. There's no denying that. Anyway, Mayor Burton and members of council, good evening. Thank you for introducing me. Yes, I'm Jennifer Trimble. I'm the acting manager of the Right-of-Way Management Group. The presentation we have for you tonight summarizes the current temporary one-way setup on Bronny Road between Lakeshore and Marine Drive, and what interim steps council may consider while maintaining safety for all users. Oh, that doesn't work. Next slide, I see. Press down again. Oh, I apologize. Thank you. The one-way southbound operation began as a construction support measure for 85 Bronny Road in 2024. And council confirmed one-way as the preferred long-term direction in August of 2025. In October, council directed staff to report on the feasibility to maintain the one-way operations on Bronny Road in the event the temporary street occupancy permit expired before the streetscape project began. Excellent. The key change to the project is the site's receivership and sales process, which affects what the town can practically do in the right-of-way. The temporary condition is expected to remain for an extended period, being tied to either the streetscape project or the redevelopment under a future owner. The earliest we expect the new purchaser to be identified is around September 2026. This is what the corridor looks like today. There is a separate pedestrian path, temporary ramps, urban barriers, traffic signs, barrels, and security fencing. It all meets temporary traffic control requirements and is functioning safely. The proposed interim options are focused on improving clarity and appearance while keeping the same operating concept. Staff developed 3 options to improve the visual impact along the corridor. The 3 options differ by the amount of physical work, time to deliver, cost, and whether the court involvement is necessary. With option 1, the security fence remains at the edge of the sidewalk, and the current pedestrian pathway, urban barriers, road surface, and on-street parking remain as they are. The construction barrels at Lakeshore and Bronte Road and at Bronte and Marine Drive will be replaced with barriers to delineate the one-way operation at the intersections. Option 1 will take about 1 month to complete with a cost estimate of about $45,000. The receivership will continue to maintain the sidewalk and the existing urban barriers. This option improves the visual impact and delineation while recognizing the temporary or short-term nature and minimizing financial impacts. Option 2 goes further by adding a temporary asphalt sidewalk, which improves pedestrian conditions, hatched pavement markings, and low-profile curb, to delineate the space between the parking, along with the barriers described in option 1. However, this option requires relocating the security fence back to the property line, which would require approval of the court. Option 2 will require court approval to proceed, which is estimated to be 5 months, a 5-month process, then approximately 2 months to construct. The estimated cost to complete the work is $82,000 to $97,000. And the risk with this option is the schedule uncertainty if the court does not grant the motion. Option 3 delivers the most complete interim look and feel, including all of the same features as option 2, but includes full road resurfacing. It has the highest cost and the same court dependency as option 2. Option 3 goes further by adding full road resurfacing along with the temporary asphalt sidewalk, hatched pavement markings, and the barriers at both intersections. Similarly, this option requires relocating the security fence back to the property line, which would require the approval of the court and adds approximately 5 to 6 months to the schedule. We estimate 2 to 4 months to construct if approval is received. Timing is expected to push into 2027, considering the road paving option. We estimate this option at $140,000 to $150,000.
Thank you very much, Ms. Trimble. And you have questions from Councillors O'Meara and McNeese.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, hopefully not a surprise. I appreciate this. I guess my question is, with option 1, it says in a month. So does that mean it would be ready and done by Canada Day?
Through Your Worship, yes, it should take in order to secure the supplies and install the traffic control measures should be from 4 weeks from today.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor McNeese.
Thank you, through Your Worship. Just a question, the directional arrows that you have in your overhead shot there, would that be painted on the road, like showing which direction the traffic should go?
Perhaps we could bring up the presentation
Yes.
so that we can all see it. So we're looking at slide number 5.
Yeah, I think they all have it on, yeah.
Through the Mayor, the arrows that are identified, and hopefully I can use the mouse here, maybe, no, are just for illustration to identify the direction of traffic.
Okay, is that something that could be considered as well? Because I think we've got very little signs, especially at the exits of some of these buildings, and as some of the building owners or occupants say, they still see people going the wrong way up this street despite the signage that's there. Is that sort of an easy fix or easy addition to have some directional arrows on that road?
Through the Mayor, yes, that can be added to option 1.
Okay, thank you. And one other question, I think you had an image just showing the road closed signage where there's 3 signs, if you could just pull up that slide. Yeah, so how long, I think we'll hear maybe from the BIA, but I think the concern from some of the businesses is that this says the road is closed, the businesses are closed, don't come up here. With the improvements in option 1, is there any consolidation of the 1, 2, 3, 4 signs that sort of say don't come up here that can happen if there's more transportation safety measures and directional arrows on the road?
Through the mayor, we would have to look at the signage to ensure that it complies with our Ontario Traffic Manual for Book 7. Since we are changing from a two-way to a one-way street, we do have regulations with respect to what that temporary signage looks like, but we can definitely look to see if we can consolidate some and clarify some of the signage out there.
Okay, thanks very much.
Ms. Rogers, on the in the middle sign there that says road closed, I understand the wrong way sign, that's logical. Do we really want to say the road is closed when it's not closed? Or do you mean to say the lane is closed? Or?
Well, it's through the, if I understand correctly, through the traffic bylaw, the road closure is for the northbound lane. It is, again, as we approve the delegated authority for the road closure, it includes that lane. So technically speaking, it does meet the, again, the traffic control requirements as well as what's outlined in our traffic bylaw, but we can look to clarify that as we move forward.
I mean, northbound lane closed would, it'd be more helpful to the public. Okay, thank you. So, Councillor Hazard-Thiel.
Can you just explain how many of the cement barriers will there be installed? I couldn't tell from the map.
Through the mayor, so what we have looked at for option 1, I'm assuming that's the option. So we have looked at both the concrete component as well as the water-filled barriers. Because of when the time of this report, we were looking at supply because these items are now in the height of construction season, so supply is really limited, but what we have since then, since drafting the report, it is recommended to use the water-filled barriers, and we are going to be using about approximately 24.
So is there any way that you can beautify those? Because one of the pieces that I hear continually is that it feels like a construction zone in many parts now of Bronte, and the BIA works really, really hard with limited dollars to do the beautification. So is there a way that those water barriers can be beautified, if you will? I was hoping you were going to say the cement ones because then they could have a cool contest to color them all. But is there any way to do that in order to sort of respect, look, people are really tired of looking at the construction.
Through the mayor, yes. I mean, absolutely. First and foremost, we're trying to, again, ensure that the traffic control and the safety requirements are met first. So we did anticipate this question. So if we could bring up the extra slides, perhaps. Oh. So looking at some of the options we can do to perhaps address the aesthetic component of this traffic control, we have looked at vinyl adhesive for water-filled barriers. We did look into the short amount of time looking at a vinyl wrap, but given the material that the water-filled barrier is, it is recommended to use a vinyl adhesive as shown on the screen to the left. This can be done in both a solid color or repetitive image or icon. The installation would be done by the printers, and it would be on the fabrication site, and it would add an additional 4 weeks to the overall timeline. So just referring back to Councillor Armita's question, it would add an additional time in order to, one, secure and fabricate and install this item. The additional cost for this is approximately $5,000. We have also looked at the concrete option. Again, in the short time, we were able to source colored or painted concrete barriers that would be delivered painted, as opposed to painting ourselves. There is an additional cost to this and time. It would require an additional 4 weeks because this would be a custom color, as well as the cost is significantly higher as with concrete barriers. You know, the cost alone, but also the painting component, and again, the installation for that. We were also asked about urban barriers, which is seen there, which is delineating the pedestrian traffic through this area. But as I mentioned, we do have to comply with our Ontario Traffic Manual Book 7. That is only intended to delineate pedestrian traffic. It isn't intended to be used as we see here, which closes or reduces traffic in one lane direction. So changing from or converting from a two-way to a one-way configuration. So with all of these, we are recommending a vinyl adhesive should council wish to proceed with some sort of aesthetic component. That way we could, one, add that aspect, but also given the time and the cost to do so, it would be effective. Now, again, this is just a depiction of what we could do. Something again, to the water-filled barriers, it is recommended that the design be limited to an icon or an image that is repetitive. We do have a curved linear shape here, as well as certain areas with voids, as you can see in the depiction. So something that would stand out. It is also relatively small and segmented, so again, we did look into wording, et cetera, but again, we're dealing with short segments, so we don't want some of the words to fall off, much like the hoarding. So again, this is kind of the recommended design type, if we want to say, for something of this nature. So that is something that we could add to the design for option 1. And so we have depicted that here a little bit further so that everyone can see, and happy to take any more questions on this one.
So thank you for that, and I'll leave it to the discretion of the local councillors. If I got a chance to do something more beautiful, and I'm sure the BIA will have some comments as well. Thank you.
Ms. Rogers, can you just clarify, did you say this would add how much time to getting it done?
Yes, it would add approximately 4 weeks to do this.
And does that change the answer to Councillor O'Meara about Canada Day?
Yes, it does change the question, the
Thank
answer,
you.
sorry.
All right. Then Councillor Hazard-Thiel, can I call on Councillor McNeice now? Councillor McNeice.
Thank you, Worship. So just to clarify, it adds 4 weeks to the 4 weeks, so we're looking at 8 weeks, so August?
Through the mayor, that's correct.
Okay. Is there any, I mean, obviously time is another element here. We're already sort of into the busy season with the weather changing. Is there any way they can apply that vinyl on the spot at a later date, or?
So through the mayor, it would not be recommended. We would have to do a lane closure in order to do that. And I would also have to see, again, if there's any prep or primer work that would have to be done if we were to do it in situ. But I would suggest that it be done on the fabrication site just to eliminate any errors, et cetera.
I know that some places have sleeves that sort of go over top, and I think they buckle underneath, especially with the water barriers. Is that an option that can maybe be, done off-site so that we can slightly beautify before Canada Day and the busy season, and then get an additional kind of wrap feature?
Through the mayor, we did investigate that option through 2 sources, and it was suggested, based on, again, the curved linear nature of these water-filled barriers, that it would not be suggested. So we did investigate that, but it is recommended to do the vinyl adhesive.
And is it possible for the sleeves to go over top the concrete, or does that not, doesn't work?
No, that doesn't.
Okay, I mean, I'm interested to hear what the delegates think about it as well, and we'll take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Clerk, would you call the registered delegations?
Kylie Wilson.
Welcome, Ms. Wilson. We look forward to your information.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me, and it's really nice to see everybody here again. As you know, I'm the Executive Director of the Bronte BIA, representing our local business community. Just to state the obvious, we know tonight's discussion isn't about the long-term vision for Bronte Road. We know that work will come through in the future streetscape plan. So tonight is really just about something immediate and practical and what we can do as they were mentioning, enter our busy season. So what can we realistically deliver tonight? Sorry, can you hear me? Okay. Bronte has already absorbed significant disruption. And at the site that you're seeing on the screen here, 23 businesses were displaced in 2022. 20 were ultimately lost from our district of 175. Since demolition began over 2 years ago, the site has remained in a prolonged state of inactivity and uncertainty, looking like this. So what residents, businesses, and visitors experience today isn't just a short-term construction inconvenience. It's been a long-term condition at our most visible gateway, marked by sandbags, traffic barrels, broken fencing, and temporary fixes that were never intended to define our gateway. And all of this matters because this is where the first impression of our community is formed. So council is being asked to choose between 3 options, but the practical reality is only one option can be implemented quickly, without legal delay, and with certainty of delivery, and that's option 1. Options 2 and 3 require insolvency court involvement, introduce timing uncertainty, and risk delaying any improvement at a moment where a community really does need to see action. So it's not a question tonight of ambition versus compromise, but really what can we deliver now? The Bronte BIA supports option 1, but with an important addition. On its own, option 1 is functional but quite minimal. And that's why we're asking council to consider option 1 plus with modest, low-cost public realm improvements that meaningfully change how this corridor feels. And hopefully some of those photos will come across the screen. These include the installation of 4 season planters that transition from spring and summer flowers to winter cedar arrangements. As we were just discussing, beautifying either the water barriers or concrete to really help soften that industrial appearance. We want coordinated Bronte Road is open for business signage to support our local merchants, and any type of small-scale placemaking and gateway treatments within the town's right-of-way. None of these require any legal escalation, all are implementable quickly, and all will improve the lived experience of this corridor. Together, they signal care, and that really matters in a village that depends on tourism and walkability in that first impression. And I should note that our BIA is fully prepared to partner with the town to support these improvements. So to close, option 1 is not the ideal long-term outcome for Bronte Road, but it really is the only option before council today that is timely, certain, and immediately implementable. And with the enhancement we're proposing, it can still reflect dignity and order and pride in Bronte during what is a prolonged period of disruption. So our businesses have truly carried this uncertainty for more than 2 years, and we just want to see some type of visible progress at this site. On a side note, I did just want to say that what is happening at 85 Bronte Road is obviously a situation no one in this room created. Now here we are all trying to manage it. And while we're working to improve this in the interim, it really does reinforce a broader lesson for the future that these extended private developments should be required to better protect the public realm so communities aren't left carrying that visual or economic burden. But for tonight, the choice for us is clear: deliverable action now or continued delay. So we're asking council to choose option 1 plus. And I would like to thank you very much for your time and happy to take any questions.
Well, thank you. Councillor McNeice will oblige you with the first one, and then I've got one for you. Councillor McNeice.
Thank you, Your Worship. And thanks for your presentation and your visuals there. That's really helpful. Maybe just to staff, I think planters, can do a lot, especially, with the different seasons and the town grows it themselves. Is there an additional cost? We have that right slip lane that is no longer used, and that's the first thing you see when you come into the community. Can that sort of be a light, quick, cheap solution that the BIA doesn't have to bear the burden of to help us through this situation?
Through the mayor, that would be the decision of council, whether that would be borne by the town or borne by the BIA. What I can say is that we have looked at an additional 5 barrels that could be added to this area. I would like to note it would be behind the barriers in order to, again, ensure that traffic control and safety is maintained. So again, through the open area we had behind the concrete barriers, we could look at adding additional planters through that.
And is there a cost to that? Yeah.
Yes, the cost associated with 5 barrels is $2,500, which includes the maintenance component. Any specifics, I would ask Chris Mark to speak to that. If you...
Okay, now, I understand if it's on the street components behind the barriers, but what about that triangular that's sort of at grade or at sidewalk level piece where pedestrians have typically used when there was the right slip lane? That wouldn't be obstructed by a barrier.
So through the mayor, what I understand is that the barrels need to be located in a safe location in order for watering. We do have a truck that does stop, but again, perhaps if there's any details with respect to those locations, perhaps Chris can answer specifically.
Yeah, maybe if, I don't know if Chris is coming, but if there's some flexibility, because I mean, if we put it behind a barrier, you've sort of lost the visual, or half the visual of the beautification that we're trying to accomplish.
Through you, Mayor Burton, could you again describe the location, Councilor McNeese, where you're thinking these extra barrels would be?
So there's a triangular sort of sidewalk parcel so there's sort of a right slip lane, or what used to be a right slip lane. I understand the need for the barriers on the traffic lanes, but this is sort of a triangular sidewalk island, I guess. Yeah. Refuge island, there we go.
Yeah, through you, Councilor McNeese, I would prefer to take that back and have a look at it and just confirm with staff that
potentially we have some flexibility
we don't have
to
any health and
get
safety
good
issues.
sight lines. Okay.
Yeah.
And then to the delegate, to Kylie and Ms. Wilson, the thought of an additional 4 weeks to wrap the either plastic planters or concrete planters, putting us into near August. What are your thoughts on that?
Through you, Your Worship. I would say ideally we do want to make it look less industrial, so I think if we can beautify them in some way, and I keep saying if you could just let my colleague and I at it, we will paint, we will create the vinyl slips, we will do it. But I would say if we can get planters there in the interim, possible signage, and then maybe if those slips can come at a later time, I think that they're worthwhile, worth waiting for.
Okay, so just to be clear, if say by Canada Day we just have planters, we'll talk about the sign next, but and the barriers don't come at all till August 1st, let's say, but when they come, they're wrapped, and you know, they either town logo or something that's repetitive on it. Would that be your choice to not have sort of live with the pylons until then, have some planters, but yeah. Help us make that decision.
I feel like it's Sophie's choice. I don't know. I really have. I mean, ideally, I think waiting is probably the optimal decision. They do look clean. They look a lot cleaner than the pylons. But if we are looking at keeping these for potentially another year, I think it's worth waiting and letting our businesses and community know that it's coming and that this will be incremental change that they'll be seeing.
Okay, and just one other technicality I thought of. Can the planters come before the barriers?
Through your worship, no, they would have to be only installed when the when the barriers or water-filled barriers are there in order to maintain the safety component.
Does that change your
Can
opinion?
I change my answer? I would say then, I mean, I also defer to both of you. You live there as well, and you hear from our businesses and our community, but I would say the change happening right now as we enter a busy season is probably most important rather than waiting until August.
Okay, so if we could, I don't know if you can pull up your signage slide without it rotating or not, but where you had the Welcome to Bronny sign. Just have some questions for staff. You probably registered when you saw it sliding through there. And I don't know if this is a licensing question, but would a sign like that be permitted? Oh, well, yeah, no, we don't want that sign up. Yeah, there we go.
So,
Oh, that's gone.
So through your worship, as Kylie had mentioned, this is a gateway area which has been identified through our Bronte Urban Design Guidelines. So I would ask Gabe Charles, who I believe is on the line, to speak to this and how we address gateways through the Bronte Village.
Mr. Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you. With these types of things, we would be looking to our the direction in our OP policies. There are defined gateways that we have. If there are specific examples that the BIA would like to use, or if council would like to use, we could look at those in the context of our OP direction. The other thing I would offer is that our gateways are typically identified through structures, public art, landscaping, for example. So signage doesn't necessarily fit that bill, but we're able to have that conversation if the BIA so chooses.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that response. And then I guess my question to staff is, how could we support the BIA in building something like this that we assume the receiver won't allow it touch their property, and all that signage in behind is gone now, it's just bare plywood. I mean, I suppose we could ask them if we could affix, but I'm assuming the answer is no. In that case, how could we figure out how to construct something like is in the image that is safe, but also temporary and, you know, a reasonable budget?
So through the mayor, we have very quickly, and again, very quickly, because we just saw this today, looked at a cost estimate to this, just to give an order of magnitude of what we might be looking at in terms of investment. So something like this would be in and around $15,000 because it can't be affixed to the asphalt. So given the investment, it would be suggested perhaps we take this item back to, or staff take this item back to work with both planning and engineering to see what options we can bring forward given the investment.
Okay, just back to timing. So how long would that take?
Through you, the mayor, I'm probably into the summer, so July at the earliest. Again, if there is a decision for the report back, there is fabrication and such should council wish to approve. So just keeping that all in mind, should a council wish to refer this back to staff.
Could that component come back at the next council meeting in June, like this time in June?
Through your worship, that would be too soon.
Too soon?
Yeah.
Or isn't there one like 4 weeks from now, a council meeting?
Through Mayor Burton, I think we could do a better job if we could have just that time into July. I don't feel that we can get you the information, the correct costing of it, and the ability to do it in that short a period of time. So I think July, as Director Rogers has said, would be the earliest time we could report.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Knoll.
Thank you, Worship. I don't want to get into the minutiae of detail here, but I'm just wondering if we contemplated the idea of contracting local vinyl printers. I've used them myself to create the decals and install them as the tanks are being delivered. So you could deliver it by the tanks or the barriers, the water barriers, and as they're being installed, apply the vinyl and the production being done concurrently. Because we have several local vendors in Oakville that do print vinyl. I've contracted vinyl wraps myself.
So through the worship, yeah, we actually did contact local vendors, and again, just given the fabrication time and with the material in itself, there is a little bit of a buffer in there, but again, these are using local sources as well. In situ, to your question with respect to installing it on site, we would have to look at the logistics of that just to ensure, one, there's traffic safety, et cetera, and again, ensuring that there are no errors. But we could look into that to help expedite the time, but based on the information that we have, it is suggested that it be done and installed on site.
And this is the last time I'm going to try to get into your work, but when these things are delivered, are they delivered to a work yard first and then taken to on site? Because if that's the case, you could apply the vinyl in a safe position, a safe place, whether it's a south service facility or whatever, and then ship to the other area. I'm just trying to find ways to potentially speed this process up, because it seems extraordinarily long to take 8 weeks to deliver this product.
Through your worship, again, that time includes both sourcing the material, which we have pre-sourced just to ensure that there is availability, the fabrication time, as well as installation time. We hopefully can shorten that time, but again, to answer your question, yes, it is delivered first to our works yard, but we could arrange for it to be actually delivered right to the fabrication site to help expedite that time. But again, we want to just provide, and manage expectations in terms of something this unique and ensure that we do it correctly. So again, it is up to 8 weeks. So hopefully earlier.
Yeah. In light of the season and the activities happening down there, it'd be great if there's a way to expedite it, and if there's any way to do that with local providers, that would also be a win-win.
Thank you, Councillor Knoll. Councillor Haslett-Thiel.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Burton. So Kylie, at one point we were able to negotiate getting signage, those big portable signs, one for each BIA. And I know you did a fabulous job with the what was on it last summer. If you had a second one of those, so Lynn, don't run away because I want to ask you, could that sign be temporarily used? So the short answer, would that be helpful? And because I think there's another BIA that could loan you one.
Through you, Your Worship, we considered this, even just relocating the one that we have. It's on Bronte Road at Hickson right now. I don't know if you can bring up my presentation one last time, but we did actually measure out, because it's a 4x8 Kerbeck sign. Sorry, if you go to number 18, please. That's great. So, sorry, one above it, 18. Those two pylons there, you can actually see a measuring tape. That is the 8 feet. So the scale at this corner, it would be quite small, but honestly, we're willing to consider it. Even if it is just relocating inventory that we already have, we would just need some town assistance with that. The luxury lakeside sign that you see there is 24 by 8 feet, and that's kind of ideally what we were looking to cover, just so it was quite visual. But in the interim, that's a great option.
So I'm going to look at staff. So in the interim, if one BIA is prepared to share, could that be a temporary solution until you have the more beautiful sign available?
Through your worship, yes, that could be. So I should note that it would still require sandbags, so would have a temporary visual to it, just to ensure that everyone is aware that would be required for that, but can be.
A possibility for you, Kylie.
I appreciate the suggestion. That's a great idea.
All right, I'm looking at hands. Councillor O'Meara, I think we're back to you.
Yeah, sorry, thanks. And I think we had mentioned it, but maybe I'll ask Dennis. So the picture that was just up on the wall, that is all just plain 4x8 plywood sheeting right now. So there is no picture on there anymore. Can we ask the receiver if they would allow us to just get the glue and we could print off one and put it up there? Is that something we could ask the receiver if they would allow us to do that for the signing? Because then we don't have to worry about any of this. And right now it's just 4x8 sheets of plywood. There's nothing on it anyway. That would seem an easy win. And then we could make it as big as we would want up there if they would be so kind as to indulge us.
We can ask.
Thank you very much.
All right, Councillor, thank you, Keeling.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, would you call the other delegation?
Yeah. Harry Shea.
Thank you. All right, I'll confine it to table. Council, have we got a definition of what the plus means here that we can write down on paper for staff?
Yeah. Do you want me to rhyme it out first, or?
I'd like a motion.
Okay, so motion for option 1 in the plus, or I guess what's not included there, are directional arrows on the roadway, which I believe Sam said was okay. Consolidation of the signage on the southern entrance at Marine Drive. 2,500 for planters for the 5 barrels. Asking the receiver if signage can be affixed to their plywood. Temporary use of mobile sign in the slip lane. And then I would like to add a refer back to staff regarding a more permanent sign structure that the BIA can use in that slip lane.
All right, I've got that. Are you going to circulate that to the clerk?
Do you want me to type it up, or, oh,
I would
okay.
like you to, yes.
I'll need a second here. If anyone else has questions.
Actually, sorry, Mr. Mayor, through
Commissioner.
Sorry about that. We could type that up. We already have a motion prepped, so we'll just add the list that you just mentioned.
Thanks very much.
That would be great. I just want to confirm, though, you do want the vinyl wrap on the water.
I believe we're more in the interest of time, so the white water-filled barriers, in the sake of time, would be unwrapped, but I assume we can get the planters at the same time within those 4 weeks, and hopefully the mobile sign can be up in 4 weeks, whether we borrow it from our neighbor. Maybe if I could just get a nod if something can be printed on that mobile sign within 4 weeks. Yeah, okay.
Perfect. I just want to confirm that you do not want the vinyl wrap. Thank you.
We would love it if you could do it quicker, but I understand it
Appreciate that.
doesn't sound possible.
Okay, we'll type that up right away and send it to clerks.
Thank you.
Councillor, could you just explain more clearly what consolidate the southern signs means? What does the word consolidate mean?
I think you articulated well, Mayor. It's not clear when it says road closed, and there's I think 4 signs there that are trying to say don't go up this road, but it makes it feel like the businesses are closed. So I believe Ms. Rogers said that they could review the manual, the traffic safety manual, to see if maybe there can be fewer signs.
Okay, but those are not the same things. I would recommend that you put in your motion that they add a sign at the southern end saying that the businesses are open.
Thank you for that point, because that is, I believe we want that at both ends. Is that correct? Yes.
Then knock yourself out. Put it at both ends. But,
okay.
But the solution is to tell people that the businesses are open, and
yes.
The word consolidate could wind up a muddle.
Thanks for that clarity. So, yes, businesses are open, signs could be at both ends. I still think it could be beneficial if the 4 closure signs could be clearer, maybe, or fewer signs.
Thank you, I agree.
Okay.
And
yeah.
You might want to say that in your motion.
Is that, I think that's being typed up.
Good, super. All right. Council, does anybody need to wait to see the final words, or are you good with what you've heard? In that case, I will put the question, any opposed? Mr. Clerk, no one's opposed, and that carries. So thank you, everybody. Now, that means we're down to, you have your memos to read. You have, and that brings us to new business. And does anyone have any new business of congratulatory or condolence nature? Councillor McNeice.
Thank you. Sorry for dominating the mic tonight, but I just wanted to, seeing council put so much effort into Victoria Day and Canada Day, just to report back that we did see improvements this year. I want to thank the many stakeholders that were involved from our Legion and our community who, when they heard Canada Day could be canceled, they weren't there to point a finger, they were there to lend a hand and opened up their facility for many conversations that helped us come up with the best possible solution for our community. I want to thank the police and the police board and Councillor Knoll for leadership on providing appropriate resources. Certainly, there's more work to be done, and unfortunately, many other communities experienced what we've been experiencing for 5 or so years. But that said, I think the consensus was we took a step in the right direction, and we hope that will transfer into Canada Day, and we'll certainly keep it resourced and probably for a couple of years to come. But thank you to all councillors that helped share the news to parents and school boards and things like that. I think we got the word out, but we're not quite there yet. There's still an issue with youth and fireworks, but our community certainly felt a lot safer. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor O'Meara.
Well, I didn't want to take Councillor Adams or Councillor Luschen's wind out of their sails, but I just want to thank them and Councillor Knoll for the Northeast Oakville Fair on Sunday, which was great in spite of the rain. And my son getting soaking wet. It was a great time. So, and the community did a great job up there. So just hats off to the three of you for the work you guys did, and the committee as well that was involved in that. It was a great event, and actually the rain made it seem a little more intimate. So well done on that one.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Adams.
Well, you just grabbed what I was about to say, which was a giant thank you to the Northeast Oakville Fair Organizing Committee, who, despite the record amount of rain that happened on Saturday in Toronto, yesterday's weather turned just good enough that we were able to hold the Northeast Oakville Fair. And I do want to thank Councillor O'Meara and his family for joining us. And of course, Councillor Knoll, who became our sound engineer. His self-appointed names of sound engineer. But he did a fantastic job running the sound show for us, so we appreciate that. We did have a surprising number of people who showed up. I understand it was 1,200 bags of popcorn that were handed out, and we increased the number of cotton candy packages that we handed out by 50%. And so, there was a good time had by all. So thank you very, very much. And a special thank you to our events team that helped us make the day work so great. The entire team came together, making sure that we had the grounds set up, everything from making sure the grounds got cut on the Friday before to making sure that we had fire trucks showing up, we had police cars showing up, we had everything one might want to have for a good family fair. So thank you very, very much, everybody, for enjoying it with us, and we look forward to having another great year next year. So Councillor Luschin and I enjoyed the day so much that we're both a little sore from I don't know how many steps that you made, but I certainly got my steps in yesterday. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you both for everyone for all the happiness that you shared with kids. Are there any questions regarding town boards or advisory committees? Mr. Clerk, there's none. Any requests for reports? I'm not seeing any. So I'd like to entertain a motion to consider and approve the bylaws listed in items 17.1 through 17.3, except for...
It's just 17.3, 17.1 and 2 get moved to tomorrow.
17.1 is tomorrow, so we just need 17.3. I need a mover and seconder for consideration and reading of that bylaw. Councillor Grant and Councillor Giddings, thank you very much. Any objection? Mr. Clerk, there's no objection, and that bylaw is considered read and passed. And that means that we've done the work we could do tonight, and it's not very many minutes until the witching hour as it is. So I think we made good decisions about the referrals. And that completes the work we can do tonight. And so the meeting is done. It's been terrific working with you, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.